twins. It's our job to make them look like twins.
They're light colored, so I can pretty much get away with not doing it. But.
Yeah, no, I'm Italian, so I have a part Italian, so I have a little bit of a unibrow too.
I'm Sicilian. I feel you. I got laser. Once the laser changed my life. Laser hair removal.
I would be worried about shooting that close to my eyes, just in case.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that a James Bond movie? It's like, tell me everything you know as they point a laser at you.
Lasers are good. Backside of a razor that just has on it, and then just like maybe get it threaded once a month. I'll be all right.
Or have you tried those eyebrow? These right here. I have one right here. It's like a razor, but it's
Yeah.
so you could just go and just boom.
Men's razors have that on the back a lot because they you want to do like detailing on like certain things on your face, so they'll have a single blade on the multi-blade razor that's on the other side. You can do that with. It's pretty much the same thing as that. It's just not sideways.
Good times. Good times.
The Andreas dance.
Wrong, Andreas.
I've written into these songs to shift the chord progression up.
What's the name of it?
Ooh, cool.
What? You have an on-air sign?
Yeah, last time I plugged it in, it just got blurry on the screen though. So let me see if it
This
works.
looks so good.
What kind of camera?
Just whatever is on my computer.
Oh wait, I'm not logged in.
Let's see, USB.
We're live, by the way. That's why I think he was showing that time.
Yeah, 146. Let's go. That's why we've
been
on
live
air.
for a while.
We're on air.
There it is. We're on air. We're literally on air.
It's like it's the DVD logo. It's bouncing.
It never hits the corner.
Bernie's like out having a cigarette. Like, what's up, everybody?
Did she drop
How's
off?
it going? She's gonna be right back. I'm sure. I'm sure there was like some sort of a technical. We'll just, you know what?
Welcome to the Xirtus verse.
Exactly. Citizens, women, men, transgender freaks. Welcome to my world. You know, we're all freaks. I hope you're having a good time. Oh, this is the English version.
Technically, it's Sunday night in America, but it's already Monday morning where X is.
To Albert Platz. Neustadt. This is pretty much my life right now.
AI music.
No, I mean like Albert Platz and the Neustadt.
I came up with one of the greatest taglines to advertise cigarettes a couple weeks ago. I hadn't taken mushrooms or any psychedelics in 5 years, right?
Okay.
I went on a couple grams of mushrooms with my buddy. And eventually, you know, you're coming down and he's like, why are you smoking? Why are you smoking? I go, because sometimes it's like when I'm lost in space and time and I'm holding a lit American spirit in my hand, even if I'm not smoking it, it's just that I know where the frick I am.
Which dimension? Which dimension? Totally. Oh my God. I've been there.
So that's why. Why do you like it?
It's true. You know which way is down.
No, it's true. Like, cause you know, like you're not in the it's like you're not in the Man in High Castle. No, like you know,
you're not in trouble.
If you're smoking an American Spirit organic cigarette, you know which timeline you're on. Or even if you're just holding
American Spirit and ask how I can smoke such shit. Because any smokes will kill you.
It was worth it,
These
okay?
will make you feel like it.
I would be terrified of us if I was like any child and I wasn't raised knowing what was true about the world and who shot Kennedy. I would be terrified right now, Parmesan. Oh my God, you're scaring the children.
Well, and I didn't say the F word because we're within the first 5 to 10 minutes. I said friggin'. I really, because I thought about it, and this is Andreas' channel.
Yeah,
and
thank you. I do appreciate
it's
that.
one thing to like advertise cigarettes. The problem is if you make them look cool. The problem is if you make them look cool.
Look, I've seen Canadian children impregnated at 13 with boyfriends that have taken acid and fallen off bridges, and not once in not once in Degrassi has ever has Degrassi used profanity.
Oh, was that show with the rapper in the wheelchair? I think it's so cool that hip hop is inclusive like that a disabled person can be on stage.
Dude, there's some truth to what you speak. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of goodness in Degrassi. Do you know that Kevin Smith spent $8,000 to have a copy of Degrassi?
Talk about Drake that way.
Before it was
it's
on
not
DVD.
Nice to talk about. Sorry. Anyway, sorry. You
no,
were
he
talking
was.
About Drake as a disabled person.
A lot of Canadians.
I just picked somebody.
You know, I think Drake is full circle. If you really think about it, American music started out with jazz, which was a fusion of Arcadian and Jewish and African American music together to create, like, you know, let's be honest, swing and jazz are probably like the coolest thing that's ever happened in music. And then Drake is sort of this culmination exodus out of Americana, where like the elite, the complete fruition of laziness has incorporated itself as the authority of music, right? And so it's some sort of a degenerative replica of all the things that have been sold as a way to dissipate culture from the intelligentsia.
What specifically was degenerative? You were saying was the trajectory of music.
Maybe Drake could have been a bit more. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you think?
I feel
Drake
like the
is
AI.
Hemingway? Are you coming from a Drake as Hemingway position?
No. I'm saying that when
if you do so, please express it. I need to understand
again,
why.
Sean thinks that if you have training data sets for AI and then it produces music, that it's somehow less than. When I actually contend that he's upcycling the music and bringing it to the future, as opposed to
you're just remixing it.
All right.
It's a little more than remixing because it's for use.
Are we based? No, dude, we're Quinn.
Hi, Julia.
Hi.
The musicians who were training
for the lack of social skills. For
I want to address a serious circumstance, Harrison. When we are not based, we are cringe and woke. You cannot take that away from us. YouTube, don't listen to them. Please continue to express that we are an acceptable channel. Sorry that you said the hate crime word based. We're cringe and woke. Thank you. All right, now I need to know, is Drake Hemingway? 1 yes or 2 no? We'll continue with this logic. Please let us know. Is 1? We've got a 1 yes.
Simplicity.
I mean, simplicity is direct in. I think simplicity is intimacy. There could be something to be said for Hemingway just directly expressing what's going on without gallivanting into circles. I'm not sure. Do you have any tarot cards? What are you up to, Julia? It's been a minute.
I'm putting on a Band-Aid. I broke a nail. I'm putting on a Band-Aid.
Oh, girl. I'm sorry.
Dude, but I have an owl on my nail.
That's
gonna get saved now.
Oh, that's so. Come on, that's so wild.
That is really cute.
That's
So
cool.
cute.
We have the most in common right now, having both exited Asana most recently. That's cool. So I don't know. We're thinking. Okay, so I'm looking at the numbers right here. It looks like we have a 2 and a 1. We have a 1.5. Between the question again was, is Drake Hemingway 1 yes or 2 no? I mean,
Hemingway.
Hemingway is based
by Diddy,
bro.
Is what Mac is asking.
Just because a man goes to Spain doesn't mean that he necessarily experiments. It's not like college. It's not like it's Spain. You know, like a lot of things happen in Spain, but not maybe. I mean, people seem. You don't think Hemingway? Oh, we're talking about Drake. I'm sorry. I was thinking about Hemingway. The point was more if Drake was actually expressing something super deep.
Well, that's the question. If Drake is Hemingway, then you have to answer the Hemingway.
Julia, Julie, I like that. Can we change your name to Julie? I think that's a pretty reasonable nickname.
What?
See, we're not getting paid. Otherwise, it'd be workplace harassment, and I'd stand for none of it. But
Bernie and Ernie, the puppets, are not available. I tried to connect them. I'm sorry, Bernie. I did my best. They seem to be.
You know, we need a rapper. We need a rapper who's like comparable to like Dr. Seuss.
My internet sucks. Question. If Trump takes over Canada, will my internet get better or will we just burn down faster? Because Alberta is already.
Well, yeah, exactly. Apparently, his internet's not working. I have an answer to the question, though, right? Is that if there's a chance in the next 4 years, we're gonna go, hey kids, remember the internet? Wasn't that fun? Because it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I've been feeling that. I feel like we're burning so many things down. What if like Northern California burned? This is a crazy thought, okay? When I was thinking about this earlier, because I went to Dresden, you know what I mean? Like to see the damage Americans do to cities. And it's like the Slavic joke. You don't need to go out to see Dresden. We have Dresden at home, and like California is burned down like worse than Dresden in some certain circumstances. But I'm thinking to myself, you know what? That's okay. That's okay. It's terrible. It's terrible. But we could do something. Insurance can happen. They could make $100 million happen for like a neighborhood. I'm sure something will happen. But it's like maybe those are the
the sax? Does he really play the sax?
Does anybody else get the impression that Gavin Newsom is just Mitt Romney in drag?
I see it.
I mainly see the Patrick Bateman thing. I see a guy
violin on the Titanic when it's going down.
I feel like
playing the sax there, maybe, or
I feel like the kid who sees Cartman and he like doesn't understand you're not supposed to want to be Cartman, and the kid who sees Rick and Morty and doesn't understand you're not supposed to want to be Rick and Morty, like, or this is the guy who
BoJack Horseman and not understand you're not supposed to be BoJack Horseman.
That's a personal attack. But the point is that Patrick, I feel like Gavin Newsom is trying to be like American Psycho Patrick Bateman, and he doesn't realize you're not supposed to be like American Psycho Patrick Bateman.
No, oh my God, he is. I feel like.
But Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura was doing Patrick Bateman, and I didn't realize that as a kid. And so I'm imitating Jim Carrey, who's imitating Patrick Bateman. So it's kind of
it's a weird thing to tell like celebrities. You're like, hey, don't worry, you're homeless now. California loves the homeless, right? So, I mean, it just seems like a crazy place to come from as a governor. I don't know.
Is like otherworldly.
Otherworldly.
There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. Like
out of this world.
It's insane. It's amazing, but horrible at the same time. Like LA.
I was gonna look at pictures of Dresden again because it's the most.
Bernie says
you
will buy crypto. You will flee the dollar. The dollar is crashing. You want to buy foreign currency. You want to diversify your portfolio away from the U.S. dollar. Yes, you are getting sleepy.
Dude, I was actually
mostly gold and silver as an alchemist. I gotta recommend that.
So I was in my like, so I'm in an apartment building here in Vienna, and there's an elevator, and the elevator actually says Schindler. It's a Schindler elevator, so it's a Schindler lift.
Wow,
it's Schindler's lift. So I was thinking to myself, I was thinking we should make a movie about it. It's like there's this elevator, and it's Schindler's lift, and then this German engineer is telling Schindler that he's only allowed to have so many of his friends take the elevator because of the weight, and he has to tell which friends he's allowed to have in the elevator. Which ones are going to have to walk.
Cables. We could fit one more. We could fit one more.
This is brilliant, Andreas. This is brilliant.
I have a plot twist for it. Schindler's Lift exists in the X Church when it's physically built.
I mean, it could happen, right? Anything is real. Hey, here's Bernie's puppets. We found them. They're all right. They're doing okay. Yeah, that's what really matters. We're doing okay.
So have you guys talked about the fire? Like, have you guys have you already discussed that on a show?
No, we're doing it now. This is it.
We have a moment of silence.
You've been on the whole time.
The Korean air flight that went down as well. A moment of silence.
What's the deal?
The one that hit some concrete wall
crashed as well. We'll have a moment of silence for all the people that are experiencing tragedy.
We will. You're gonna have to tell me what it is. I don't know about it, but it's pretty. What? 3 hours ago, a Korean plane crashed?
No, it was a couple days ago, at least. But
when they say the black box didn't record anything on that one,
they built a fucking concrete wall at the end of the runway.
Why the fuck was there a concrete wall next to an airstrip fucking runway? Like
that is some Wile E. Coyote shit. I'm sorry.
I am
No, that's
never
literally
flying
like,
to the
you
solar.
watch a news.
All right.
And
Everybody-
unfortunately, there happened to be a concrete wall there, and it's like, why did you build that? There was nothing beyond the wall. You put a fucking mud field there, so the plane hits it, sinks its wheels into it, and stops.
Or leave the open field.
What is designed like that in New York?
You could
we
say
have
the same
schools for
thing about
that.
every highway, though. But anyways,
No, it's just the
Oh
most
my God.
idiotic.
I'm
design
really sorry.
ever.
I feel like I
Criminal
was.
negligence
They should have
causing
painted a
death.
tunnel on it.
I'm angry too, though. Let's get
Everybody
angry.
stop screaming for a second.
See, I told you
we're
gonna start with a crescendo,
No,
and
that
then we're
one
gonna
makes
help
me
Andres
mad.
go to sleep by the end of the stream instead of
Oh
giving him
my
like
God.
a panic attack.
It's true. This is
the
late.
thing that makes my
Riley.
heart flutter, the thing that literally it makes my heart flutter about it, is I think they really will rebuild the wall. That will put they'll put the concrete wall back.
The Idiocracy, the movie, is becoming reality. We live in clown worlds.
Oh my God. All right. So
My theory is
just,
Megalopolis was a prequel to Idiocracy.
So I'm really sorry. I didn't know about this. That a plane crashed in Korea. Is that what's going on here? Korea's plane.
Yeah, Bobby Lee was talking about it on Tim Dillon's podcast, and they had a little moment of silence.
I don't know much about it. I'm sorry. I was
also the plane crash from that happened in Azerbaijan. I guess it was. Yeah, that flying over Chechnya and some Ukrainian drones.
Oh, that was shot down by the Russians
then,
by accident, supposedly.
Yeah, exactly. They happened within
as soon as I saw the photos of the wreckage, like 10 minutes after it happened,
all the shrapnel in the back.
Yeah. Well, you just see a bunch of holes in it, and it's like, all right, so a missile went up next to it with a bunch of BBs and nails in it and exploded right next to the plane, and that's why it has 10,000 little holes in it, and it probably caught some hydraulics.
Oh, exactly.
Oh, this is terrifying. My friend is literally a few blocks north of the Palisades fire, right by Ventura Boulevard.
Yeah, and so I mean, I hate to think like how crazy it is, but how crazy is it? Is this just like the craziest direct energy weapon stuff at a P. Diddy neighborhood that you've ever seen?
I actually believe that there's been video recorded of the Palisades fire being started by two people with a gasoline tank, and that the footage was originally tried to give to the police. They rejected it. Now it's being shared amongst a bunch of firefighters that are like trying to bring awareness to it, that it was actually straight up arson that caused that.
Yeah, there was one guy walking around with a map gas torch. You can
we've seen obviously there looked like I mean, I've seen videos on TikTok and everywhere else of angry Angelinos lighting fires while police and firefighters are busy fighting other fires. So there certainly are crazy MK Ultra people that are starting fires places.
Well,
but
so what you guys are saying,
there's at least three major
job is what you're saying, because like it was planned to happen. Like someone planned to light all these fire at once.
It's weird, like a week and a half before Trump becomes president, right?
Kind of
we have
just not everyone got the message.
It's a week until Trump is president, right? What else is going on? Like, it just seems clearly that something crazy is happening right before he takes power, because he has no power to do anything. Oh, what was the deal? Biden was flying. This was the same day that Biden gave the Medal of Honor or Medal of Freedom or Medal of
George Soros
and to Hillary Clinton and to a number of people, actually. But because of that, that's not the most important part. Even there was a no-fly zone because Biden was in California, which meant that the firefighters couldn't drop water on the fire, which allowed it to expand. Absolutely.
Satellite video of multiple fires sparking.
Okay, actually, now that we're on this topic, can we please bring up like the
let's
DEI aspect and like the second in command fight, like the three LGBT
if you really want to
leaders in the fire department and the
I don't know if I just want to say a giant. I feel like if a lesbian taking steroids wants to carry me out of a burning building,
she doesn't though. That's the point of this. Listen to this. You have to listen to this. She literally hates men so much that she says it's a man's fault.
Let's be honest.
Being in the fire if you expect him to carry him out. Listen to this. It's crazy.
Bro,
You know what
this
she
is a
should have said?
firefighter.
You know what she should have
That's the
said?
hottest take. You're a fire. That's the hottest take I've heard so far on the firefighter.
But wasn't there a
Go ahead.
pastor who said
Literally
that the
just
reason there were
should've said-
earthquakes? The reason there were earthquakes was because like God hates fags. Is that what you're saying, Bernie? Is God hates fags?
No,
and
no,
that's why
I'm
the
saying
fires
this
happen?
lady
Stop.
literally.
Oh my
Because I don't
God,
agree.
dude.
If that's what you're
if she
saying, I
can
don't agree
carry
with
a
it. I don't
man
agree with
out
that.
of a burning building, and she replies with, "Any man, like a man in there, was in the wrong for being
I mean,
in
you
that
sound
spot,
angry about
so
it. I
she shouldn't have
understand,
to
bro.
carry him out." Like, it's crazy. She literally is saying she will not rescue half of the population.
But I don't
because
understand.
they're
You all of
men.
a sudden you're bringing
It's
the whole
refreshing and
LGBTQ shit.
empowering.
Oh no, she
Yeah.
just implied that if you get caught in a fire, it's just your fault. Like,
So-
No,
like,
all right.
men. He said a woman asked if she's strong enough to carry her husband out, and she says, "Well, if your husband's in that spot, it's his own fault," sort of thing. Just like, can you please play the clip? And like, it's
Is this a cultural thing though that they're trying to shift? They're saying, "Hey, now we're going to be very anti leftist. We're going to be anti woke. We're going to allow a pendulum to provoke the audience by saying, hey, the audience are so sick of this that we
it's
want
reality
extreme
slapping everyone
Christian
in the
right."
face, like,
I'm
your
just
homes have been
afraid-
burnt down.
No, Andreas said we're going to be cringed and woke. We're not being based today. Remember, guys? Come on, you got to stay on message. Remember being cringed
Well,
like
I said
Bernie,
they're
and we're being woke
blaming.
like Moptastic, or so it's like you can
I
pick
do-
which foot you want to insert into which part
I
of your
am.
mouth.
I'm down to talk about both. I'm just saying I'm concerned with the idea that hey, now we're so lucky that we've won some sort of a cultural war. Whenever you say that, that most
It's like
likely
buying
means
into
you've
race
been
war has
tactics.
been
Again,
won.
why
War
is this
has
about
been
gender or
lost. The
sexuality
fire
at
just
all? This is
burnt
about
down
fire.
20% of
Tragedy.
LA, and like is
right, but
continuing
20% of LA, that's like, do people that live in those neighborhoods are like Ellen DeGeneres' friends?
on. Yeah,
So it's-
all of the actual mainstream media celebrities. The irony, like, if you don't believe in God and karma, like, it's like,
So like all the
I
people that
can't
had
laugh
like
at tragedy,
crazy,
but-
what was going on in some of those $5 million mansions?
There are other
Who's gonna
people
pay-
that live there.
All the insurance is shut down though for the last. I
Well,
feel like
that's literally the insurance company screaming at them, like, we've assessed this risk and it's unacceptably high. We don't even think you should live there.
right. Yeah. So like at some point, don't you have to say these people are responsible for this thing and charge like a crime
Like,
against
that's something
the
I really
governor
think
of
that needs to
California?
be, like, drilled into people's
criminal
heads. Like, this is not a
negligence
money
causing
issue.
death is the exact
Criminal
crime.
negligence causing
Julia,
death.
do you have
If you were to
anything to
own an
say or
apartment
share
building.
today, as opposed to just like listening to everyone yap back and forth? Because you usually have positive things to say.
Well, I just found it interesting of the whole, like, have you guys read about the smart city? Like, of
15-minute
them,
15-minute cities?
Smart city.
yeah, that they like in September that there was a request for proposal to do that in that area. And then I also heard about like the upcoming Olympics that's going to be
Right.
there, and that it's supposed to happen there. And so like that rebuilding of it, and then you see these images of, you know, houses that are burnt down, and then like a blue trash can that's not burnt down, that's plastic. So
Right? All the recycling bins survived. I saw this meme or question meme of like, so if there's a fire, put all of your like valuables into the recycling bin and it survives. But
so we
you
should
watch
live in
the
blue
video
homes.
and they're not burnt. It's so crazy. Like, they're blue bins next to completely burnt out cars that are just melted scrap metal, and the plastic blue bin is like standing or like spilt over on the road. It's
And then what was that show with Matthew McConaughey on HBO? What was the name of that show? Matthew McConaughey, Colin Farrell, Woody
I'll
Harrelson did it. And then they talked about how they wanted to build like a high-speed rail in California, and they were having like problems, and that like how they got scandalous because people didn't want to give up their land, but how they've been trying to build that rail for so long, and then looking where all these fires have been, like the possibility of that being an agenda.
It's very sus. Very sus.
Are you talking about the Newton
planned,
Boys? Was it the Newton
you should
Boys, the movie that you
see-
were talking about?
If anyone
No.
sold
Woody
a
Harrelson
bunch
and
of
Matthew
insurance
McConaughey.
stocks of California stock insurers before the fires happened, right? If someone liquidated their insurance stocks before these happened, you know, probably inside job.
Well, no,
But I remember hearing in like 2017, a while ago, that they were shopping around, that they knew like horrible things, that whoever got the governor position was like, they knew horrible things were needing to be done. And so it was like kind of like a fall guy. And like I heard some of the most evil people turned it down. And like Gavin was like, I'll do it, because that just imagine the energy of all the people and the families you've affected just spiritually, as you know, and people's thoughts and, you know, anger and hate, and having to deal with that, and of being like this fall guy, like the face of horrific agenda after horrific agenda.
That's what it's like for Andreas to try to interact with his audience sometimes.
By the way, I
And
just
what
put a
all
video
politicians sell their souls for.
I just shot a video to you, Andreas. You can see multiple fires starting at the same time. Like literally.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing. There's like 3 independent fires that were started within minutes.
No, there's
of each
way more
other.
than 3 in that shot. Look at it go back and forth. See that?
Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, they're all over the place. Yeah. This is like more than a dozen. And where is this exactly? This is just Los Angeles and over the coast from Ventura. Yeah. This is like the 4 places south of Ventura. Okay. So somehow all of these places simultaneously happen.
Again, now we know what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, when they explained it with fire and brimstone, no, there was just somehow from high on above, like, you know, something rained down upon me, you know?
You ever see that movie Real Geniuses? You know what I'm talking about? With Val Kilmer?
No.
There's this epic movie. You really got to see Real Geniuses. And basically the plot is that there's some kids that are in college that are being tricked into designing a NSA military electric microwave weapon that will be attached to a satellite or a spaceship or a aircraft, right?
Wow, they don't want to pay real engineers to do it?
Well, exactly, basically. And so these kids are working on it. Some of them get PTSD and go insane, or are living in the walls of the school.
They're wild and crazy kids. Yeah, like living in the hallways of the tunnels.
Managing engineers.
In the walls?
Right.
It happens in this industry. Not abnormal.
It's not abnormal. That's the joke. That's why I said that.
I hadn't seen this, Andreas. You told me to watch this a couple years ago.
The closer you are to it, the more you know this is your life. The point is, basically, they build the weapon. They finally succeed at it. They get the cookie, and then they realize they're like, "Whoa! Why are we building this cookie? This weapon that we got a cookie for? Well, it's not a weapon to them. It's a tool, but they realize it's a weapon. They're like, wow, this isn't just some like project. Why are they having us do this? It's because this is a freaking weapon. We've been tricked. We've been tricked into making a weapon."
And Andreas, you in the past have said you wouldn't work on a graphene battery system for the NSA because then there's drones that can stay aloft for DARPA. And
DARPA,
it's on the same principle.
I was going to say that sounds like the start of every DARPA operation.
Anyways, some movies try to model family values, and some movies try to model, other types of values. This movie was aimed at young brainiacs to kind of give them the morals that you're not supposed to build the all-seeing eye for the totalitarian fascist regime du jour, essentially.
Didn't Google used to say "Don't be evil" on the wall and as its motto?
It's not there anymore, unfortunately. No.
That was Google. They got rid of that years ago.
Right, point in case. Another CIA.
Wait, somebody said they had the voice in the movie The Real Genius. They had the voice of God. It was put in a character's head.
That's the brain to
That was a
skull
plot point?
sound
Voice
to
to
skull,
skull.
sound to bone technology. Eric Hecker.
Oh, where they
talked
vibrate your
about
head
that.
with a radio wave or something, so you hear something that's supposed to be like
Yeah, they project
disembodied
voices in. Essentially, schizophrenia or God or demon. Or
Do you know that nobody who's been born blind has ever been diagnosed with schizophrenia? And I think I figured out why. It's because if they're blind, all they do is hear voices. How are they supposed to know if they're real or not?
Whoa.
They probably still. Is there any truth to this?
Look it up. There's nobody who's born blind has ever been diagnosed with schizophrenia. 100%.
That's pretty crazy. That's interesting.
I feel like they're more tapped into their senses, though.
schizophrenia is a disease of
And
pattern
wait, you mean like
recognition.
diagnosed by like a real doctor who's like a psychiatrist? And like, oh no, they diagnosed you. It's like, you know,
I love
I'd
seeing
rather be
they
diagnosed with
interviewed, they
schizophrenia than
asked,
cancer. You know, that's
they
just
asked all these psychiatrists, like, have you ever healed anyone? And they're so funny. Like all of their responses of like, yeah,
it turns
no.
them into NPCs.
Every
They're-
single
Right?
one.
Think about it.
Not one.
Most actually probably got worse. Several committed suicide or murders or mass attack. Like,
Yeah, that's alchemy to the chemistry of neurology, which hasn't been discovered yet.
Well, I'd
Once
like to-
neurology is built out
For the
properly,
sake of
that
mental
stuff-
health stigma and like
wayside.
removing stigma around mental health issues, there's something called bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. And bipolar 1 is more like ADD plus a little bit, whereas bipolar 2 is a little bit more
Crazy
the full-blown
timing.
schizophrenic type thing. But
so
What up?
like my
Crazy time.
ex-girlfriend versus my ex-girlfriend is what you're describing there.
Well, schizophrenia, like a lot of people that were given
Count
really
it.
high doses of specific B vitamins, like it cured them of schizophrenia. Sometimes
I would love to read more about that.
B vitamins are pretty incredible. People need to understand.
Yeah,
I don't
they're
think we
really
completely even understand
They're
what
very-
B vitamins are. There's so many crazy
Very
and things
important
about it.
too.
Wait, but Colin just jumped in from a truck driving across America, and I'm intrigued. I'll admit, I'm intrigued. What's going on, Colin?
Hey,
How are you?
It's crazy, dude, that I just happened to jump in, right? Like I'm bipolar. And I just jumped in randomly and you guys are just talking about bipolar. So I just thought that was interesting. That makes me laugh.
Is what I said
that was a
accurate?
sync. I didn't hear much of what you said. I just
Oh.
barely jumped in. What were you saying?
I was saying that according to my understanding, there's two types of bipolar. Again, this is in the current DSM, which I
Yeah.
call the Dick Sucking Manual 6 or 5 or whatever it is. And, but the type 1 is more like ADD plus. And it's just like, and then type 2 is sometimes you're in like full-blown dissociation, unsure of what
Sort
timeline
of.
sort of thing.
Sort
and so when
of.
people
I
say
mean,
bipolar, there's a lot of stigma attached to it, both of them. And there really should be not stigma attached to either of them. But just so that
No.
like the layman isn't just using a term thinking they're knowing what they're talking about, because the doctors and the court pretend they're speaking the same language often, and it's just not
well,
true.
so sort of. I mean, it's not totally unfair what you're saying. In a sense, yes, but no. I mean, like very technically, there's like bipolar, like A and B or whatever, or 1 and 2, whatever you want to. I can't remember exactly what they call it, but it's really about your cycle rate. So the first one, you might not cycle very often, and it may be a lot less extreme, and then it's just the severity. Basically, it's like how much it fucks over your life.
But we're pathologizing. We're pathologizing the range of human emotions as though it's a disease. You understand?
Well,
It means
I
you're
mean,
not allowed to
bipolar
be in a good mood.
definitely is.
You're not allowed to be in a good mood and then in a bad mood. Otherwise, you have a disease.
Well,
Is that what you're
well, no, the problem is that people get misdiagnosed regularly because this stuff is really hard to tie down. So somebody might be like, you might like, you have psychiatrists, you go into a shrink and their job is to pathologize you because you have a problem. So they want to solve your problem. And so they're trying to look in their little box, to try and figure out like, okay, well, they're coming to me with a problem and now I have A, B, C, D, and E. And like, so this looks more like this, but they are going to diagnose you if they're not very good, like that's just what they're used to doing. They just want to solve it, right?
I would say, yeah, right.
So-
Regardless of the diagnosis, as you said, it's about treatment and intervention. And I started seeing a guy on the premise that his philosophy was before he would prescribe anybody medicine, his first prescription was doing 30 days of yoga at least once a day, and then seeing how that adjusts how you're feeling about whatever you're dealing with. And then from there, he will discuss medication with you. But until you've
that
engaged
right there
in some sort of
is
process
excellent.
that's not just a chemical intervention, if you're
No,
drug
that
seeking,
would be-
Because this
I'm
we're
glad my
talking
doctor
about
didn't prescribe me
spiritual
yoga for my staph
alchemy
infection.
and biochemical processes, and that before modern psychology and psychiatrists and treating with drugs was a thing 100 years ago, it was always dealt with a spiritual aspect of things, and that's why there was exorcisms, interventions, and anyone that had schizophrenia, it was essentially seen as a possession, other entities and whatnot with that. and that it's what I've
But
seen. and
calisthenics
experienced
are a
with
lot more
people-
tame than exorcisms,
Well,
I think.
hold on, I gotta
They can
give two
function the same.
examples. One of
all
an
exercise.
ex-girlfriend that was actually a hardcore diagnosed bipolar, like where it was extreme, where like the best of times were
Like by a
literally the
doctor.
best
It was
of
diagnosed
times,
by a
but
doctor.
the
It was
worst of
extreme.
times
Okay.
was she was manic depressants, like suicidal, like in the hospital, trying to like just like out of her mind, right? But it was usually alcohol that would trigger it, or weed, that like if they were doing any sort of intoxicant, it would trigger it.
So naming the beast. Naming the beast helps. Now, when it's a child that you're attaching a diagnosis to, oftentimes it attacks their psyche in a way, and their self-esteem in a way that they feel like without the medicine, that they're not smart enough. They're never going to be. They can't keep up with their peers unless they're on amphetamines. And
You know what this reminds me
So
of?
a young age,
I
there's
have
something
I
wrong
have
with you,
to
and this
because
is what's wrong
because
with
because I'm actually bipolar as fuck. Like I need to get the misconception out of the way that yes, it is real. It can be very fucking real. It's affected me very strongly. I have to be on a lot of years to figure out the right ones because I have such fuck you diabolical hell.
We're losing you.
And
It was
antipsychotics
getting too
are
real and
an
good
entire
to be
class of
allowed.
medicine.
The
And
problem
you take a
is
very
when
small amount
people
of them, and people use alcohol instead of antipsychotics because they're going for that effect of numbing.
So wait,
a
you're
little bit.
trying to say you take very specific medications you need to have, right? Basically.
yeah, and it took 10 years of trying everything, not believing it. I was very resistant to medication at first. Like I don't want to go into my whole life story, but I'll try and boil it down to for 10 years my life was hell, and I was on different meds and they would kind of help but not all the way. And so I would get frustrated, I would stop taking them, I would go explore other paths, I'd try and do a spiritual thing, I'd try and
Did
do
you
everything
cleanse?
you can possibly everything you can conceive of. I got to the point, like one
What
point
about a
I
cleanse,
was
though? Right,
vegan.
interesting.
I was vegan at one point. Like
Are you sober? Sorry, I have a question.
I was totally sober.
You were okay.
I would use
Please
plant
personal sense. Let's give
medicine.
him a minute, though. Let's give him a minute. Yeah. At least. Yeah,
So
Please
I would
continue.
use weed. I would not use weed. I would be sober. I would try and and it got to a point that at one point, the only thing that made me feel good was morphine. And so I was addicted to morphine for a while. And then I got off of morphine, still had the problem, was still on some meds, still helping a little bit, not all the way. And it finally, the end of the story really is that what I ended up having to do was do what I didn't want to do, was let other people help me. Because I wanted to help myself. I took it upon myself. I thought it was a failing in myself. I thought it was something I needed to do, that I was doing something wrong, and I was exploring everything I possibly could. Right? And what I needed to do was just hand it over to the doctor.
Yeah.
And so I went to inpatient for like a month and a half, where they could monitor me and test a med, and okay, that's not working after a week, and they had to literally monitor me around the clock for 2 months, and my life has changed. I feel like me back when I was in high school again. So I'm saying these things can be real and they can work. It's just a matter of what's right for people, and we don't do it for so long. Because I totally don't like doctors. I hate doctors. I've never had a good experience up until then with doctors. I just didn't believe in what they were doing and the profits they made, people sick, blah, blah, blah. It took a very long time for me to figure things out. But life is good. And I feel like my high school self again. I feel like a regular person.
Thank you for being willing to share the story with your journey as well.
I'm pretty open to different
Thank you for
lifestyles, including pharmaceutical antidepressants. I think that there are definitely people I've met who are probably in a better position than they would be without them. I think there's also people that don't have to do that, and that's not for everybody, but of course, I don't think that means everyone can't, or something to that effect, right? Parmesan pulled up this. What's up?
Right. I used to be really scared that if I
Go ahead.
took meds that it would take away. I used to think
right.
for the longest time that if I took meds that it would take away from myself, or like I would lose my soul or something. It would turn me into a zombie. Like I thought, like honestly,
right?
I'm not going to get into the really long story, but at the very first, I literally thought that they were giving me meds to shut me up because I just would just say anything back then, right? But I was manic. I was in a very huge. I could not sleep for a month, and I know that sounds like hyperbolic, but I literally couldn't get more than like an hour of sleep every day for a month, and I was totally out of my mind, and I was spiraling, and like I was on to some stuff. Like I was doing a lot of research about stuff, and I was telling people about it. So at the time, my paranoia of my mania was like, they just want to give me because so I told them I needed sleep.
I would say the benefit
that you had other entity voices interfering, right? Like that would push you, because the longer you stay awake for, the more the shadows talk, or the winds talk,
That's
and the
not
shadows
real.
move and come alive.
It was intense. It was pure hell, dude. I was living in pure hell. I don't even like to go back to it.
Well, so tickety. So what I like about what you're sharing is I had another friend similarly. There was like a computer glitch, and 10,000 people got bumped off of Mass Health, and so a lot of people, they didn't have their medication all of a sudden, which was working for them, and their go-to in response to that was like a fifth of vodka, maybe like twice or three times a day, because they didn't have their other thing that was working. And on one hand, it's good to have a meds vacation, especially kids. Sometimes there's a certain time of year where the kids are on meds vacation.
Right, like off of Ritalin and stuff. Like it's good to go off your meds for sure.
If it causes like,
or to see if the meds are even necessary.
Here's the thing: once you're pathologizing and medicating, just because it worked for you, there's this evangelical sense. And on one hand, you want to open other people's minds to remove the stigma from medication, because it can be something that is a lot more sustainable for your organs. If someone has a medicinal
regimen that's working, don't fuck with it.
Right. So go on. I want to hear what you're getting at.
But that doesn't mean, again, everyone is so different in our internal neurochemistry that just because something worked for one person does not mean that is going to be what works or feels like balance or sanity to somebody else.
Right. And it's crazy because like I take lithium is one of the things I take, and they don't even know why it works. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
in mineral water. If you drink the right mineral water, there's lithium.
It's one of the oldest things that they use for mania, for bipolar mania, and it does, for some reason, it decreases mania. But like these things are just what my point is these things are not figured out to an exact science. So the fact that
people have lithium salt in their blood, you know what it is, bro. You're a lizard person. It's okay.
I like to leak batteries too.
Oh wait, I got a couple questions for Julia actually about this, because Julia knows a lot about like homeopathy and the idea of keeping your body in a healthy state and trying to make sure that you don't have. What do you think, Julia, about like actually lithium is kind of an interesting thought, but just generally what we were talking about before in terms of keeping your body in a healthy state and mania and everything like that. What do you think about it?
Well, like the gut-brain axis is like it's real. And so a lot of the times, like with the mental health stigma, is they'll take things and promote these things that, block certain receptors and things in your mind and, affect the serotonin and tinkering with that when a lot of it stems from the gut. And so the fact of like, it just upsets me that so many people are suffering and they aren't given like a nutrient, they aren't giving an analysis of what they're deficient in, or if they had mercury fillings and how that could be affecting them, or certain things as well. And the fact that it was taken out of the med schools, these doctors, it was taken out of the med school in 1974. So you have all these doctors that the fungal pathology and the parasites, they weren't taught. They have no idea. And that's a root of a majority of problems, the fungal and the parasite. Like, so the fact that that's overlooked, it breaks my heart, and
Right.
of it doesn't need to be happening. So, but the fact that that's been, it used to be a widely known thing of like, every fall and spring you cleanse, like you do your parasite cleanse, and the dogs, the cats, the people, the children, like it was. But now, since that's been removed, and then the rapid decline and the intelligence, the emotional intelligence, the submission, all of it, you're seeing the effect of the rise of so many issues, and the health, the state of the health is horrible. And so
the
I'm just
confliction between the mind and gut fauna's emotional, like,
It's really easy to clean your gut out, though.
provocations.
You just eat
It's
like
what-
5 pounds of broccoli a day until you're literally moving it while it's still green, and it will literally
Fiber.
brush out your intestines like a
Put
broom.
in fiber chunks.
Because broccoli is just good at that.
5 pounds of broccoli a day is a lot, bro. How
Not
long
really.
have you eaten 5 pounds of broccoli?
If you listen, all right, 2 pounds of broccoli a day.
Two
You eat
words,
2
man
pounds
the
of
fuck
broccoli a
up.
day
Now
for
you're
a week, I guarantee
you're hoggling broccoli. Okay.
Promise.
You gotta
but
power
wait,
it.
but with the whole possession thing, like the whole possession thing, hear me out on this. It's very fascinating. Like, but that the fact that, and from my understanding, you know how you hear like, oh, we were genetically messed with, our DNA was like, oh, they removed this. Like, there's people that say the Anunnaki tinkered with the DNA or this or that, but that we were tinkered with, but that the result of that was that it made it to where we can have a co-pilot. Because I'm like, what? These people, I believe demonic possession is a real thing. And not only that, but you have people all over the world that have different backgrounds, speak different languages, completely different religious beliefs. And right before, when they were demonically possessed, right before they are healed, or the exorcism happens, they all had the same vision of Mother. Of Mother Mary.
There's a lot of
But
people
like they
that-
all saw the same. They all had the same vision, and they all translated
Weird.
different. And a lot of them weren't Catholic. They had different backgrounds, and I was like, wow. But she said the same thing, and she said, "This is almost over. You're almost done." Like all these different people. That's what it was translated. So I was like, okay, so how is that authorized? You hear these voices, these things can enter you. How? Like, how is that okay? And so the fact that we're able to have these co-pilots that can experience things, you can't see them, but like that entity that can enter, and so some of your thoughts and feelings aren't yours.
All right. Well, wait. So Parm wanted to challenge that, though. What were you going to say, Parmesan?
There's all sorts of delusions that are specific to different areas of the world. Like in the United States, when television became popular, and then in other parts of the world, there were delusions where people would believe that people were following them around with television cameras all day, as if they were the star of some like proto-reality game show where they would be being handed $1 million at the end of it,
It's
and they were
called
so sure of it.
character syndrome is what you're talking about. It's like it's
But
a
it's an
version
actual,
of the
like,
Messiah complex.
It's not just a mindset, it's an actual delusion.
In the East, it's called visions, and the indigenous call it their spirit quest and get these
No, but
visions.
there's
And
also
it's
other delusions in
separated from
How
our
about
spirituality
when
to
I
the
there's
maximum
plenty
of
of culture-specific
physicality.
delusions. There's delusions where people think that other entities are jumping in the room and stealing their penis, and they'll literally go to the doctor
How
and say,
about when
"Look,
I was
it's missing."
I was in the
And the doctor will be like, "It's right there."
I was
But that's not.
I
what
was in the
Julian-
psych ward, and they had us
Click the left turn.
when I was in the psych ward about 15 years ago when this all started. For some reason, they had us all watch the Truman Show, and I always thought that was fucking weird. Like, why would you have all of these psychotic people watching the Truman Show? Like, and
Wrong.
it was like I still remember that, and I was like, dude, I already kind of feel like this is going on, so don't
That's
do
mean.
this to me, man. But like,
So to
I was.
provide a
That's the
little
thing is,
historical
Cool.
context for the psych ward is in the 70s, I believe it was under the Reagan administration that they kind of opened the doors to a lot of the quote unquote mental institutions, insane asylums, psych wards, because a lot of people were just being medicated and kept in the basement in kind of suboptimal conditions, let's put it that way. And so
A lot of people could just sign up for it.
internationally, the same way the institutional public school to prison pipeline that exists in the United States. If any other country had that percentage of their population in prison at one point, it's like a human rights issue. And just because it's us doesn't mean it isn't one that's getting international attention, sort of thing.
I have to say that they
a lot
didn't
of people
pick,
were voluntary.
They didn't pick that
Especially when
movie
it
for us.
disproportionately affects people who have a certain color skin, apparently.
What I
lot
found
of
really
people are
interesting is
voluntary.
people that do meth, like the people that do meth, and like how they'll have these experiences where they'll hear these voices. Like this one guy, he heard these voices of like, go 2 blocks over, make a right, second house on the left. You walk in, there's the safe, knew the code, that got money out of there. Or the guy that was driving, he was in the Midwest somewhere in like a cornfield, and he's told where to drive in the middle of nowhere, and there was like duffel bags of coke
I think it's really
that he was
important
guided to. And so it's like, so when you're ingesting these things, there's things you are then connecting to, of that network.
You don't think that someone could take advantage of someone who's already messed up in the head and believes that
these are different experiences, and these this a reoccurring common theme, and it's literal. This is evidence of these demonic possessions, and it's that the amphetamine of meth or crack, these artificial amphetamine drugs, they turn the body and the spirit into a zombie that just chases the addiction, and that your consciousness is taken out of your head, right? Because you're out of your mind when you're on these drugs. You're in this other parallel conscious.
I disagree. You're in part of yourself still. You're not out of your mind. You're still inside yourself.
Will then eventually take over, especially when you are sleep deprived as well as.
But you're given a new instinct.
I wanted to say, I feel like that's an answer to this super chat, because David, by the way, who's one of our favorite people, that's hilarious. David, who's seen Africa and Mauritania and knows about Atlantis and is based, by the way, just saying, cool to have you here, bro. But he's asking about modafinil, and I would kind of generalize this point by saying your blood is a series of quantum computer antennae that are connected to each other, more or less being reductionist. And I understand it's like a Silicon Valley anthropological or worse technopological view. However, imagine so, and then any drug you're taking is a crystal. And so crystal radio sets are being installed in your bloodstream so that you can tune yourself to specific demons or eudaimons or whatever you want to call these spirits.
People always use this word drug, though, and no one was willing to define it. And when I say
dried herb, but
you can overdose on oxygen and water, really easily. And those are two substances we need to live. And there are other substances that
doesn't matter if it's a drug. It matters if it's a stimulant, and a stimulant is not good for you if you need it to live.
Well, but worse, what if you're actually
what you're calling mania? You're you're pathologizing passion.
I kind of like that.
The Western people, medicine doesn't view it as male and female. It's yin and yang, and you have an overexpression of yang energy. So you should do some yin exercises to kind of find some softness in your physicality, and then
imagine though,
in your
what if these crystals are tuning your blood?
Pathologizing and trying to medicate it and put a buffer zone.
What are they doing exactly?
Is useful sometimes.
Make your jaws fall off.
Well, I'm trying to answer. Julia had said earlier about possession, so I'm kind of connecting this idea that there's two things in here. One is these parasites, which are pretty simple. Your gut fauna gets parasites; they start to connect. They have the same agonist and antagonist to your neurochemistry, and so they say, "Hey, you want to eat this horrible thing because we want to eat this horrible thing. Why don't you eat this horrible rotted thing that we want to digest?" And now you're eating for two. Now you're eating for yourself, but mainly so you
don't talk about McDonald's that way. I mean,
you get my point. The other thing, though, I'm talking about is crystal.
Me and my friend McDonald's is McDirties, and
these crystals.
If you
get salt, look, the salt itself, right, and the different kinds of salt.
Quarter pounders, bro.
So he's talking about lithium, and I'm not a doctor here, and I'm not a wizard. I mean, I am a wizard, I guess. So this is my point. Maybe the magic is that the lithium salt is connecting to specific tuning frequencies of spirit that are non-local and are not necessarily the same spirit that everyone's interacting with, but you have a specific deficiency of without having taken lithium. And so that's the thing that's tuning you.
Dude, what if I've been possessed? What if I've been possessed for 15 years and the drugs that I take
just
quell the demon? to quell the demon.
Well, this is one of those things where we're gonna probably need to have. Hold on, I just want to answer.
Definitely not a parasite, but it could be a demon.
Let me just answer really quickly that. Hold on, for the love of God, Vincent would tell you it's eudaimonia, right? Eudaimonia, like utopia. There's the word demon isn't necessarily evil. It's like geist or spirit.
Well, my muse is pretty fucked up then.
So maybe you gotta
we all have a demon and an angel living within us. It's which one do you feed and listen to, and that they use drugs to sedate us in our own awareness and connection to.
There's that word again, drugs.
Self, and that when you get emotionally put down onto the second lower wavelength where you just react, fight or flight, right? That you're just
call it medicine instead of drugs.
That is when you're either going with the angel or the demon that is just acting through you, right? You're happy, it's your angel self. If you're mad, want to kill, burn
let's
the
use
world down,
Bernie. Let's use I statements. Yeah. Sorry,
What?
I said let's use I statements. Because there's a lot of this, this is what happens when you do it's like that might be what you experience, and so it's useful.
My angel is definitely. My angel wants me to be president of the United States of America.
Metaphorical,
that's for sure.
So, and I would just like to again reflect on what Tickety was saying. So, the ability to see your interactions with doctors as an opportunity to try medicine under a supervised environment. Because some people, the last thing that they want to do ever in their life is try.
With that was my doctor put me on oxycontin, almost stopped
on the drugs. We can't finish one thought on the stream.
Hold on, I can't hear this dude.
Thanks. Anyways, so
what you just like.
Go ahead, Bernie.
What my experience?
I mean, are you trying to sabotage Andreas' stream so that there's no continuous thoughts the whole time? Or
the best 15 years of my life with the worst physical drug prescription addiction
medicine? Yeah.
No, not medicine. Oxycontin.
You might have been taking the wrong medicine, but again, you keep calling it
labeled as medicine, but it is artificial.
I feel like
opiate that is 100 times stronger than heroin. Okay, so
I feel like we're all talking past each other, and
the worst opiate that is natural, basically.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I
was just trying to praise Tickety for his openness to see it as an opportunity.
I should flagging.
And if you're going to try it, you want to do it under the supervision of professionals where you because it might not be the right medicine, and it's scary to try something new. Outside of removing the stigma, removing the stigma from the medicine.
It's
difficult to get to that point, but if you need help,
it's fight and try.
You got to give yourself over for something. And I praise you, Tickety, for doing that.
I support meditation over meditation. Every time. Meditation
not drugs.
over meditation.
Every time. But I also heard Tickety say people are medicine. Go team. Good talk.
Listen, drugs, when it comes to drugs, you got to know what your doctor's giving you. Like a friend of mine's been prescribed Adderall because he needs to lose weight, and his doctor's aware that he's diabetic, and he's got neuropathy in his feet, and his toes are going numb. And
that's a terrible idea.
I tell him, yeah, Adderall actually constricts your blood vessels, and if your toes start to feel cold or go numb on that, they might have to cut them off one day. And you should talk to your doctor about that if it ever happens. And he's like, that is happening. I'm going to stop taking that until I talk to my doctor.
Jesus, your doctor's crazy.
I feel like I'd rather...
Most medicine.
I feel like I'd rather
medications have more harmful side effects that require even more medication.
That was
than what they're actually supposedly treating.
This is true often too, but we're not doctors. I wanted to bring up that Parmesan sent this article about nanoparticles as a delivery cargo. This is like 10, 15 years ago we were doing this. What's the deal now? What are they doing? A flavonoid.
Oh yeah, there's all
Tell me
sorts
about
of
this.
things that you can get out of vitamins. Oh, sorry, out of fruits and vegetables that aren't vitamins or minerals. They're chemicals that your body either can make analogs of, so they're not totally vital, or can just make
Endogenous.
outright. So getting them from plants is just better. You need to have a really
Endogenous.
wide-ranging diet that covers everything, and not just all your vitamins and minerals, like things like flavonoids and whatnot. And once you've got that base,
Don't forget
maybe then
monoatomic
start
gold. BurnEye can
exploring
get you some of that
other things.
monoatomic gold if you need it. You know.
Gold doesn't do anything in biology.
Ionic gold and silver actually do. There's a lot of science on those, and that's
poisons.
the actual metal that's fully dissolved into the water where it's missing one of the bonds broken down. But that's more advanced chemistry to go into right
You
now.
don't want atoms that
But
weigh more than a
I was
certain.
just going to say I don't sell or do the monatomic gold or silver or anything. I teach people how to make their own to experiment with on plants, and that, you know, don't recommend taking stuff that you don't know
Ingesting
what
it. Sorry, I
it
didn't
is.
mean to put words in your mouth.
I
Base
wouldn't
Canada,
say
or as I'd
Sounds
like to
legit.
say, North USA. Yeah, let's do it. Let's make Degrassi part of Disney. Let's bring Canada into the.
I think
Can I
carbonate is
talk
the
about
heaviest
two
metal
anti
that you need.
sound lately?
Hey, man,
First, you
brothers
have
and
to answer
sisters.
my two questions from the beginning of the stream
Sure.
of if Canada does become the 51st state, is my internet connection actually going to improve, or are we just
Amen.
going to burn down
Absolutely
faster?
not becoming a state.
The way
Absolutely
I
not
see it, there's
Non-voting
America.
territory.
We need 53 states to actually have indivisible prime number. 53 is a prime and indivisible number. So America has to be 53 states.
Puerto
It's a
Rico.
it's a natural law. Natural law math.
That's a goal we can all achieve.
And the question is, which state's going to be the 51st? Because we know we're going to have 3. So is it going to be Mexico? Because I'm fully fine with it as a Californian. So you better hurry, Canada. You better hurry. That's the
Well,
way I
does
look
Canada
at it.
become one big state, or is it like
Join,
each
then it'll be
province?
renamed as
I
the
think
Americanum or something like that. Where if first you just take Greenland as the 51st state, then you can take Canada as like the 52nd, or maybe
You really want to be the 52nd? Don't you want to be the first?
The 51st.
You got it. Look, I feel like the whole thing about being American is to try to be the first. Canada, you should try a little harder to be the 51st state.
Oh
This is
no,
your
we
chance
want to be the
to
last.
show yourselves.
We want to be the very last
want
added
to
one, so we can
senators?
negotiate the best deal with Trump. Okay, like Greenland's just going to be taken, right? Like they're just going to be taken with the like false promise that they'll give 50% of the profits to the King of Denmark, which will never happen. And then it's like from there, it's going to be like, what else can we incorporate? And then, of course, they're going to go for the Panama Canal because they're going to have to take that by force. But then they're instantly going to be like, okay, that's the 52nd. But
Nah, dude, we already have Puerto Rico. We're not gonna make.
incorporate Puerto Rico before the rest.
We're gonna not make. Look at Puerto Rico.
I
Is
hope Puerto
already.
Rico doesn't become a state.
Puerto Rico is already a part of America without being a state. We're not
But
gonna make
it
Panama.
needs to be a state. Yes, there's a lot of
After Mexico. Mexico first.
States of America.
No.
Yeah, like
Mexico.
there's a lot of different islands,
Look,
areas.
there's no more illegal aliens jumping over borders if Mexico becomes a state. It's a solve. It's a solve. It's an incontestable solve. We just make Mexico
Then
part of
people
the
just
United
jump
States.
into Mexico.
It's done. It's done. If Mexico's part of the United States, argument solved. And you know what else happens? We can start a war with the cartels.
Is officially part of the states. Then from there, boom, you have everything up and
Here's my question.
Colombia.
What
already
question
part
is
of the
how
United
much
States.
do we
I
have
wanna
to
be a
pay
state.
Mexico for them to be willing to be part of our FEMA system? Because the United States is broken up into FEMA Region 1, FEMA Region 2, FEMA Region 3, and like when shit goes down, or even the anticipation that there's going to be an extreme weather event, they start positioning people. Now we're kind of shit
Yo,
on
we need
people.
we need to be able to finish thoughts
Saying a lot of things
before
So the question is,
somebody
how much
talks.
are we going to pay
It's
Mexico
all over
to be
when
part
the
of our
US
FEMA
takes
network?
the
I
Panama
think is
Everyone,
what
calm
comes
down. Calm down. All right, you ready? Okay, now we're gonna let BurnEye go for a second. Okay. All right.
Mexico
Okay.
exists as a major landmass in between the U.S. and the Panama Canal. You make the Panama Canal a state officially, well then legitimately all of those countries in territory between the Panama Canal and the border of the U.S. instantly can be incorporated as another state, so you just take Mexico
Yeah.
like that. It makes
Mexico has to go first, I think. Panama can't happen without Mexico. It's a social thing. Ideologically, America looks at Mexico. We could have had Mexico be a state in 1844. You know, when Polk was president, it would have been fine. But he just decided, Americans decided it wouldn't work. It was just too different. So we need to get over that hump somehow. And if we do that, then everything will be fine. If people in America just decide, okay, yeah, Mexicans aren't illegal citizens anymore, everyone will be happy. Australia isn't real. Submarines, please. We full. I don't know.
So my problem with that, as much as like I really like the idea because most of the people that come over the border are from Mexico, but people are coming from all over the world through Mexico. So the problem is if we can't contain our border right now, like what makes us
Then we
think that
control
just
Mexico.
making Mexico into
We'll be able to contain Mexico.
but then people sneak into Mexico.
No, but
That's what
we
I'm saying.
control.
That's why you need
no,
the
because
Panama
then
Canal,
then
and you get Colombia as an official state, which then blocks the rest of South America, especially
So
Venezuela and those communist prison gangs.
Mexico would have
Just-
federal government control, so we would be able to go anywhere in Mexico, and we'd be able to enforce
Right.
any policy we would want to in Mexico, and we'd be able to
So-
say, "Hey, your borders need to be secured by these people," right? Immediately.
But we don't do that right now, so why would we secure Mexico once we have it if we don't secure California
That's what's gonna-
and Texas and New Mexico and Arizona? We don't secure those right now, so why would we secure them if we got Mexico? It would just create a new border.
Well,
It would erase
it's a
the border. You're the same
different
country
government.
at that point.
I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I'm saying, like, I just don't see the evidence that we're going to even contain the next border once we have a new border.
Well, that's why you have to start with Greenland, because it's a giant frozen island that is its own border. So, like, literally, there's 52,000 people on that. It's like they said they could pay every citizen $2 million, and it just, like, adds up to, like, a few billion or something, or like 30 or 100.
I want $2 million.
Affordable that America could afford. So you take that, and then from there you could take the Panama Canal, or you could take Canada, or you could incorporate Puerto Rico. But you just, you'd instantly get a whole bunch. And as soon as you take the Panama Canal, you're back to the Monroe Doctrine.
Well,
and
I agree that we should take it.
with that.
I have some
We're gonna-
ideas on this. I have some ideas about this.
Let me just say that we're gonna take it. We just don't necessarily have to make a mistake to take it. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
So
What's that?
I don't think that we're going to be going in and taking all this. And what I think is going on is Donald Trump is saying,
that
listen,
the Panama
we've been defending
Canal
it,
is going to be
and no,
taken
hold
one
on,
way or
hold on,
another.
hold
Wait,
on.
one at a
Andres,
time.
please.
Yeah.
So I think what's going on is Donald Trump is saying, listen, we've been paying to defend this whole entire time. We've been paying more than 90% of defense of NATO for a long time. If we wanted to take this land, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. No one you can call if you want to maintain your sovereignty. And when he's put on the negotiating table, I think that the budget's going to flip.
Probably
I think
true.
that's his plan. I really do.
Might be as simple as that. Well, wait. Julia and I had talked at one point about quantum portals that exist between different places. This was something that came up at one point. I wanted to bring up this
Sabine, I love
Hoffman
her.
article. Well, like, do you guys have any? Well, okay.
I would take her out for dinner.
That's amazing. All right, what do you think about Jesus? What do you think about teleportation?
100% real.
Yeah, Julia, you were talking to me at some point about this idea
Quantum
as well, right?
teleportation?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like water's connected. Like water is the mediator between physicality and the 0 point energy of the quantum field. So I feel, and then are you guys familiar with quantum tunneling?
A bit.
I've heard of it. Yeah, it's like when an electron will appear on the wrong wire inside of a CPU if they're too close together.
Yeah. So like, and that existing at different things. Oh, you know what? That reminds me too of Dr. Gerald Pollack's, how he's saying, he wrote this paper and he's basically saying that breathing isn't just about oxygen, like that, it's the electrons from oxygen that are like the real stars of the show, and that like the in your lungs, these oxygen molecules don't just dissolve into your blood; they like lose their electrons, which are these tiny particles that are carrying the electricity and that your body needs to survive. And so it's just really interesting of like we're recharging of like it's the electricity from electrons that keep us alive and thriving. And I don't know, you said
electrochemistry.
Yeah, oxidation is a really important process that involves electrons.
But what do you want to talk about? Like different points? Because we talked about Andreas. We talked about like how there's people in like national parks that like disappear and opens up like, and they talk about the lighting being different. But and then what were you referring to, Andreas?
Well, actually, so an earlier Parmesan sent me this video, which I'd seen actually it's not that new a video. It's at least a year old, but it's kind of cool because Sabine is this German lady who does, science, disgruntled science kind of,
really in-depth physics though.
But Parmesan had been like super excited about it. So maybe Parm, you want to talk about what you liked about this video? Maybe that'd be the first way to start.
Oh, I would like to actually comment on Sabine's work in general more than this video particularly. She's really great at cutting through the woo that is used to sell quantum physics and like complicated concepts. Like she explains quantum entanglement in a really simple way, essentially saying that if you take two pieces of paper, write +1 and -1 on each of them, put them in two hidden envelopes and hand them to two different people, and they know that if they have a +1, the other one has a minus. And if one person opens the envelope, they'll know what the other person has. She'll just cut through the concepts much more cleanly than someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
A binary system with the quantum qubit system.
Right, but it's not a mysterious effect. There's a physical, sensible, logical, concrete to it.
One at a time, fellas. Yeah.
Sorry. That's a two-dimensional system versus an 8 or a 16 or like.
Well, how would that change it if you just had more numbers? You just have.
Because then you have dimensional folds of papers within themselves of actual matter folding back in within itself from.
I was talking about a literal envelope with literal slips of paper, like nothing wild. I mean, you could do origami with it. Actually, it's really interesting. Origami is totally isomorphic to algebra, so any calculation you can perform algebraically, you should also be able to perform by folding paper.
Who's this smart quantum physics lady? I can't see. I can't read while I'm driving.
Sabine Hassenfelder. Yeah. So basically, this is an article that talks about like non-local identities that are oblate and observable and not observable at the same time. So what, like Parmesan, you're talking about the metaphor that this could happen in envelopes, but what is this about teleportation?
Not a metaphor. He's talking about a vector, though. It's a two-dimensional vector of the negative and the positive. And
if you really want
that's a
there was just recently a quantum teleportation was achieved using scalar. Yeah, but like, all right, at the end of 2024, quantum teleportation was achieved.
This is the opposite of speed.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is the sales angle of quantum physics.
Yeah, we use scalar waves to affect each other.
Quantum is information and matter simultaneously throughout space-time. It's like
matter, information, and energy are all the same thing when you get down to it. Yeah, they're not different.
Wait. So hold on just a second. Let Parmesan explain what one is compared to the other. All right, go ahead.
I mean, no, particles are waves, and waves are particles. So they're not different.
Really? You're gonna come at me with particles are waves? You're like
they are.
That's racism. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
You're pretty.
What if they could just? What if they could just be waves if they feel like it? Like
that's
right. They identify as waves. Okay.
Yeah.
Like we just talk about them as particles because that kind of makes sense as a way to refer to them
Particles
in the
is
mathematics.
physicality. Quantum is like simultaneously in
It's like-
space-time. In a higher
Like
dimension.
when you shoot a photon at something, it doesn't actually
Sorry,
move through the space between you
Do
and
the
and
particles-
the destination. It just eventually gets to the destination, and then you see the little bit of thermal radiation that affects when it strikes the target. It doesn't actually propagate through the space. There's no way to observe a photon that's moving. You only see
What
it
if-
leave and then hit at a delay. That's it.
What if the particles just wave when they start to wave?
The reason it's a wave is because when the photon hits the thing, it actually induces a little tiny electric,
Jason Rubelli
Electric
explains
current.
this best.
and because the electric currents are scattered, it doesn't actually develop into like a unidirectional flow unless you're using a specific surface like a solar panel. And if you're hitting something like a painted wall, it's just going to cause it to warm up slightly.
Have you ever
Yeah, it's
have you ever
a little
heard
dry
people
when you
say like
think of it that
photons
way.
aren't
We need
real?
to have Jason Rubelli.
Wait,
Yeah, no,
wait,
photons
what-
are just an abstraction.
Like I learned last year that there's like a lot of people that completely disregard photons and they think they're not real.
It's a product.
Well, I mean,
of
it's a
quantum
way
physics.
of
It's the way you-
quantizing light, but it's not like an actual. Photons don't exist outside of the mathematics. No.
Photons
Can we even
exist
see?
in
So we can't
reality,
see
though.
photons.
Use
We can only
photons
see
they're
the
not-
effects.
solar
The
panels.
effects of
an
photons,
atom
right?
will lose
They are
a little bit of
effects.
energy,
Well, the
and then another
Heisenberg
atom.
uncertainty-
They are just effects. They're
I
effects.
just thought they didn't know neutrinos. Like I thought they were like clueless on like what neutrinos are, like where do they come from. But
The
saying
Heisenberg-
photons aren't real.
The
Thought that was
Heisenberg
hilarious.
uncertainty principle says that, and this is to answer Tickety's question. So the closer you try to look at the speed of an electron or a photon, the less certain about where
No,
it
you
is in
can't-
time
you
and
can't
space.
observe
So
a
that's the
photon.
Heisenberg uncertainty.
Photons
And if you
haven't been
figure out-
observed. The photon doesn't. You can't watch a photon move through space, and then hit something. You just see the thing it leaves lose a little bit of energy.
Right,
and then
we see the
it's
shadow.
There's nothing.
We see the
moving in
shadow of
between.
it.
So there's no
Yeah.
photons, right?
There's
is
nothing
the
in
point.
between them. There's just a certain amount of what we call a photon is the amount of energy that is lost by one excited atom and then gained by
Right.
another.
Right.
Yeah, that's
At
it.
Earth,
And,
at like at standard
it's an
temperature,
excited
and pressure
atom on the surface
of
of the
Earth.
sun and another one on Earth, then that delay between the loss and gain of energy is 8 minutes. And that's what we call the speed of light. But it's just that's how long it took to lose and gain. But technically, if something were moving at that speed, there would be no space between the surface of the sun and the surface of the Earth. They would just be touching. But that's just because of length contraction and relativity. So yeah, when you get down to the perspective of a photon, there's actually no space separating anything in the universe. But you can't take the perspective of a photon because you can't move it away.
So the point is that things are affecting each other at either end, which kind of gets into scalar waves. But what is the difference between, and then this is the next article that was saying that scientists have achieved quantum teleportation across fiber optic networks at distances greater than 44 kilometers. What do you think
Widening
this
the
is
bandwidth
about?
of the internet. They're
Right.
going to create an internet with such wide bandwidth that it's literally more than you could ever use.
And is this a
It is
reference to spooky action at a distance or
Hey,
the
now,
modern?
I would like
iteration
to
of
run
it?
a quantum server.
It's not.
So
instant.
what do you mean it's not instant? Because isn't that the point of this quantum teleportation?
Yes.
Spooking action at a distance would be if you quantum entangled two particles and then did something to one to affect the other. It actually do that. It's
I
like
don't
if I
think
took
you really
a coin,
understand quantum technology.
So first of all, like Kant is like usually a temporary thing, but Parmesan, the modern version of spooky
how do
action
they-
at a distance is you're correct. Is this thing where it's quantum entanglement? But originally, since the year 1500, around there's documentation of the use of the phrase "spooky action at a distance," and it was used to ridicule the guys with beards that stayed in the basement reading the books, and they were
gravity.
pretty sure that you could make magnets. You turn a bunch of magnetic dials here, and then there's a wire, and on the other end of it, there's a bunch of magnetic dials that mimic that action. Okay, and forever. For 500 years, people ridiculed them people and sent them back to the basement and the asylums where they belong because they were crazy because spooky action at a distance wasn't real. But
Well,
now there's a
that's
new
what they
term,
call
and again, you're
gravity.
already saying that you can't
Can
do
I
that.
can I ask a really important question? for anybody that knows. Okay, so they say that the particles are like entangled, right? And that they react to each other at whatever infinite distance. How do they know that? Like, how do they know that? How do they know?
React to each other.
Like, how do they identify this particle
And it might
and
have
then the
something
other
to
one
do with
out of
antimatter.
infinite particles
Yo,
in the entire universe?
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
What
Champ is here.
And gal.
Julia, what's your friend's name? That's a moderator on your channel that does like editing. for
Travis. He works on 14 quantum computers. Yeah.
Right? We need him
Right.
interviewed to explain all of this. because-
Should I send him a link?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Right?
Chris,
Split it.
can I catch up Chris on what's going on, guys? Okay, so we were
I've been
talking,
listening. Yeah. Listen,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking
You know
about
what's up?
demons and
Welcome,
possessions and
Travis.
shit.
what do you think about this whole quantum teleportation, instantaneous data between one particle and another particle because they're really just being affected by scalar waves because photons don't exist because everything is affecting everything else because everything is quantum entangled anyway.
Right, so it's like a question of like locality versus non-locality or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's related for sure.
Well, I think there was like what is it? Two kinds of I think there's two kinds of fuck. I gotta think about this a little bit.
Fair enough. All right. Quantum teleportation.
Because you can do
Yeah.
experiments, right? That can like show like a sense of a non-locality. I think using like it's basically playing around like collapsing quantum probabilities or whatever. It's like before you actually choose on a door, a mystery door, and see what's behind it, like there's a certain amount of like odds that it's going to be one thing or the other. But then once you actually make a decision, then the probabilities collapse upon themselves and like stuff like that. I mean, I think it can be proven, but I don't know anything about like the computing or the advanced physics or anything like that. Like I don't know anything about particle physics.
Yeah, we need Travis for that. That's his profession and job.
I was trying to find the thing like one time I was expressed quantum physics with a slinky, and you got to think of it like the slinky exists at both ends of the alpha to the omega of some sort of a point in a coordinate. If you're experiencing X or Y or some plane, you could say the entirety of the plane is connected from one end of the slinky to the other end of the slinky, and the frequency. Well, right, this is kind of like a Schrodinger's centipede. I don't know, because one part of the slinky affects the rest of the slinky, and you feel it all across the slinky. I mean,
Is everything the slinky?
Also
getting
needing
hypnotized.
the
You're going to
pages of a
flee
book.
the dollar. You're going to flee
Yo,
the dollar. You're going to.
it's not that
diversify
there's
your
like
portfolio.
it's not that there's like a message
buy
like
crypto.
someone running from one hand to
Buy
the other
foreign
hand.
currency.
It's not it's not like a light
Think of,
is
like, the old flip comics where they are flipping the pages and you have like you're literally filming the comic moving sort of thing. Like that each moment of time is like a page with every piece of the information written on that page in it. And then the slinky is like the universe as like you're flipping through and you see yourself like moving on the outside in the bigger dimension of the slinky.
I statements.
Is everything entangled, or is it just some
Yes.
things are entangled with other things?
No, I think that's the
Everything-
idea that everything is entangled.
Entanglement
Nice.
is something that you do. It's something
That's what I wanted to
subjective.
hear.
It's not.
Well-
it's not a property of the universe. If you really
All right,
wanted
let me-
to get down to it, if you had an objective view of all particles, yes, they would all be entangled with each other because all of the states are. related.
So that's the question. It's basically how much of your universe is entangled. It might be that only everything created from your solar system, in your world, in
Everything
your
within your
star,
light cone.
in your whatever that means.
Nassim Haramein's Schwarzschild proton paper and like writing on this.
I want to
what
be
the-
entangled with the Pleiades so I can
That's
go
what's
there.
good.
You know what I'm saying? That's where my head's at. I want to go to the Pleiades. I
I
want to
know
go to
there's
Arcturus.
a
Let's
really cool
entangle 'em.
religion.
Yo,
There's a
Colin,
really
I'll go
cool
with you.
religion ticket. It's called Heaven's Gate.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it? Sorry. They
No,
got these awesome.
I
they
actually
have this awesome deal on shoes. You know.
Okay,
I never
listen,
saw my cousin again after he went to Quarnox or whatever it was.
quantum internet just means that instead of using the frequency or the color of light in a fiber optic cable to encode the information. They're taking entangled photons that may be entangled one way or another, and using that to encode the information. So they're just ordering those differently entangled photons in the fiber optic cable they send them through.
No,
In a way that
technically,
encodes the
you'd be able
information
to
you want
have
to transmit.
a quantum computer on Earth, and then like a quantum
No.
computer on
Well,
Pluto.
hold on.
No.
What's the? Because Julia, I know you're doing a thing. You do talks and stuff, and you're going to like a vortex. Even like a thing about vortexes, like in March, right? So like,
Yeah.
what's the deal with vortexes in terms of quantum entanglement? What are your thoughts on vortexes generally?
What's the deal with vortexes? Sorry.
Right? Yeah, I know,
was just thinking that. I was just
These
thinking that.
vortexes. Have you
Did
heard
you
of
guys ever see? Did you guys ever see that video of the guy who he played sounds? He was messing around with music, and like
Play
that
sound, you
he
get
played certain songs, and then he said like that it opened, like a portal opened up, and that it was in Sedona. Like he could see Sedona, like when he was played these music notes in different order.
Yes.
Did he have mushrooms?
Actually,
Which is interesting. I just had dinner with what's his name, Eric Rankin. He was actually Ancient Aliens contacted him to like come on the show, but he writes and speaks about sonic geometry.
And you're right. No, I would say
And,
that anything
no,
is
I bel-
possible.
Oh, so I'm
I
at
believe
it.
that. So
In reality, no, there could be a plasma vortex where literally there's some sort of three-dimensional projection. You know the way
No,
it's
not
called
an apostrophe. Not a
camera
fucking apostrophe.
obscura. Well, it's based on the concept,
Sorry,
it's
yes.
based on the concept of camera obscura, where if there's just a pinhole in your window, on the opposite wall, you see a color version of an inverted picture of
Yes.
what's
Like
on the
that?
outside. And so there could be some more complicated
really
version
weird.
no,
thereof.
speaking of
Vortex.
And anything is
Bob
possible.
Grenier at the
ES,
Martin Fleischman
XS.
Memorial Project literally just did a video on this a few hours ago explaining how the tornado vortex breaks down matter, and the video 3-hour presentation I think it's on his O-Day series, but yeah, he goes
But-
deep to the actual mathematics.
I feel like it has something to do with water, Andreas. I really
I was
do.
just
You know,
saying that
beneath a lot
water.
of these, beneath these cathedrals is the intersection. So I don't necessarily believe. You know, you hear about ley lines, like ley lines. It's the grid, and it's on this. Which I kind of flirt with the idea that a ley line is it can be like an entrapment to keep people stuck here. But the real
The incels
for me,
really
the
just
goods
need to
of
find
it
the ley
is
lines.
the intersection of water, and water being the mediator between physicality and the 0-point energy. And I just feel like you hear about the Big Bang. It wouldn't surprise me if things erupted here through water. Like I just feel like
I mean, that also has.
Tic Tac and everything coming out of the ocean.
No,
all
was gonna
seen coming out.
yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say the water thing is actually relevant. It has utilitarian application because, like we talked about cymatic experiments, how sound can affect like the structure of water molecules.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, when you see those experiments of different frequencies changing like the growth rate of plants, like imagine, like if this actually takes off, you could have Mozart or Gregorian chants blasting on entire like fields, so to like 10x the crop yield or something. Or this could go even further with like treating cancer with sound.
It could control pests as well.
100%.
Right?
What you're both saying, both what Julia was saying and Terror Risk, is literally the science of the alchemy, the electrolysis, cold fusion that I'm researching, discovering, and finding, and that is like the secret key of how hydrogen breaks down into atomic hydrogen, as well as tritium, deuterium, and heavy water, and that when you're putting in a plasma arc, which is a specific frequency, and then that plasma state, which gives you like the temperatures of the sun, but in a very confined space, but you have the density of the water, and especially when you have the density of the salts dissolved in the water and the plasma arc going between your anode and your cathode, and the breakdown of the H2O into your hydrogen and your oxygen, and then from there it's where you get your transmutations and
let's not forget about holy water. Holy water has been an ancient practice where they would actually recite
Structured
prayers
water.
and chants. to
That was
water,
very
and they would
cogent,
add salt
Bernie.
too.
First of all, I'd like to just give Bernie. That was very cogent and well said. That was awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank
You
you.
broke that shit down on point.
I mean, when you really get down to the
Yeah, that sounds smart.
though, when you get down to it,
and that's his thing.
DNA
The
itself
monoatomic
is
thing.
just a
He's got it.
crystal.
He knows his shit.
Well, that the monatomic is the key because that is your quantum matter. It's a plasma state solid nano single atom. It's not quantum entangled. As soon as it gets oxidized or hydride, then it's turned into a nanoparticle that is no longer in the plasma quantum untangled state.
And the way
And
it shows up in our
that's
physical
where you get
universe is the
monatomic
dew
from.
on grass. And
They're
there's an
also
electromagnetic
what is
gradient
called-
between the ground and the sky, and the dew that's forming on the grass is literally precipitating both water molecules out of the air. But there is a certain amount of there's literally new water molecules being formed from H2 and O2 in a weird
if you just
blend of
Absolutely.
science happiness.
But the
you know?
last
had
part
an
of the
abiotic
science
earth,
I have
you
to
put clay on
explain
it, right?
is ionic metals. Ionic metals are the metal that is a monoatomic metal, but it is no longer solid. It is dissolved into the liquid of the water, the H2O chemical. And that with that ionic, aka your photons, electrons, and the missing congened bond of it, you get this cold fusion and transmutation aspects, and that you have this density that is dissolving and containing both H2O water molecules with your metal elements that are in that single state and that salt element, and that with those combined with your right plasma frequency is how you get a high level of plasma cold fusion.
And the cold fusion. So what you're saying is that originally, because what I was taught when I took a college
Out of
course
chemistry?
in astronomy, and
It's
was that all the iron in the universe is
Hey,
from
Stevenson,
stars
can you
that
mute
collapse.
your phone? Can you mute?
Who now?
Oh yeah, you were hearing the radio.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in
Yeah.
that truck radio.
His truck radio is a little loud. Yeah, sorry.
Should I? Or
Wait, you
He's
talking
going
about
ham.
stimulating cold fusion purely through chemical means?
Electrochemical means with electrolysis as the key reaction point.
Dude, is Zelensky really sending Ukrainians to be firefighters for LA? That's freaking amazing.
it looks like a
Really?
hostage video to me.
They
Yeah,
turned down
what
New
do you-
York firefighters.
Yep.
Cue Zelensky's like leather dancing video.
What are you guys hearing? Maybe I can fix it.
Oh, it's just your radio is a bit loud. That's all.
I don't have on radio. That's what I'm confused about. Like,
Oh,
Could I
don't-
finish my thought and explanation with one last key part of the density of your supersaturated
that's good, Colin.
electrolyte or whatever that is your water molecule, your salt molecule, your dissolved ionic metal molecule, and then the plasma arc that you've formed that exists with between your electrodes of your anode and your cathode, and that is ball lightning. That is ionized gas, ionized matter, and that the work of Bob Grenier at the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project and many others, the science of plasma and ball lightning and the transmutations and stuff that happen with it, along with what's the other group? They'll come to me. They related with the electric universe, but they do like the plasma fusion where they're getting the transmutations out of it. Anyway, it's very parallel.
Could we do a head count on that? Who's heard of the electric universe? Yes. Has anyone not heard
Our
of the
audience
electric
probably
universe?
needs to hear a little bit about it.
I've heard of it, but I don't remember what it is. So
See,
Yeah,
I came from a very
totally.
traditional science background, and again, like I took astronomy, I took college level courses when I was in high school. like,
Sapphire,
in
the
summer.
Sapphire Project.
And it was
is what
hard
it's
for me
called.
to.
If you
I saw
look up the
there's like a
Sapphire
3-hour
Project, you'll
documentary.
get good.
Well, let him
you know,
finish.
can you
what he's
stop
saying about the
talking
electric-
every time that he opens his mouth before he finishes the sentence?
Yeah.
It
Please.
isn't my
Well,
job to do that, though. You know.
So,
Let him finish what he's saying. Yeah.
Sapphire Project demonstrates.
Just wait until he finishes what he's saying is the point. Yeah, Stefan, sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, to like bring the person who hasn't heard of the electric universe, which might be people in the audience, is I came from a very traditional science background. Stars, fusion, this, that, or the other. But there's like a 3-hour documentary that for the first hour and a half, it's almost like Zeitgeist. I'm watching with a real skeptical eye, but by the end of it, I'm going, actually makes a lot of sense. It's like another lens through which to look at the forces that exist in
aspect of understanding electrochemistry of matter and plasma and energy transfer. And it's the Sapphire project, this part, that's most relevant to what I'm speaking about. And to finish my whole thought off and explanation, this ball lightning, this little plasma of ionized arced gas frequency that you are able to form between your electrodes that have that salt water density with the ionized or ionic metals dissolved within that water. When you hit the different electrodes, your negative, your cathode, is producing the atomic hydrogen reaction, and your anode is producing your oxygen, your oxidized chemical reaction aspect of it. And that you'll get your salt deposits, you'll get your metal transmutation, and it's the plasma density or heat energy that you have the heat energy of the sun in that little ionic plasma orb sphere.
What does it do?
I have a
Within
question.
it,
Will this
that's
give
where
me
you're getting the
superpowers?
transmutation. That's the same power, how they explain the sun hydrogen
net
fusion
power
reaction,
output? Like,
but what they're not
does it give you
understanding is
more
the
energy than you put in?
plasma fusion reaction. And when you have that plasma in that salt water between it, that's the density confinement that keeps it stable and the boundary around it, and also providing the stable matter mass of being able to produce mass transmutation through that plasma reaction. And
Can you get like more energy out of it than it takes to sustain it?
That is controversial, and more tests need to be
Harriman
run
would say
on
yes,
it.
though. It's the vacuum
But
density. And the answer to your question, I
initial
believe,
experiments
some people
that
yes.
I've seen and that Jeremiah Pop ran, it definitely appears that is the case, but I can't like fully confirm that with my own experiments at this point, but it does appear
That's
that.
Project Sapphire was also a covert
Dude,
operation from the United States and Kazakhstan to reduce the nuclear proliferation by bringing over, nuclear-rich uranium from the Soviet Union to the United States.
See, they were complaining about depleted uranium rounds, but enriched uranium rounds are a lot worse.
Holy shit!
And so,
Holy shit! Yes,
here's
they
the
are.
key part. So
They have both, and they're using one. So again, it's like if there's an issue, again, the goal is to penetrate the armor, and you need something heavy. But
why would they use enriched uranium in a
exactly,
bullet?
they
That's like
wouldn't.
$1 million bullet.
There's like Geneva conventions and stuff, so they're using depleted. But when it goes out in the news, it just sounds
like
scary.
psychotic.
Gulf War syndrome or Gulf War feature? You know,
that's like putting helium-3 in a balloon, in a party balloon.
Well, they were trying it in Ukraine, but
we should make love, not
Russia
war.
blew up the 2 storage warehouses that it originally.
Have you ever made love during a war?
I'm sure it's
The
happened.
Iraq War.
I would.
Has there ever been peace? Are you asking him if I'm a virgin or?
It's better that way.
Okay, there's lots of wars. I was just thinking like, there was that. That's the
Are
only
you
war.
in fact
No,
a virgin?
plenty of wars since I've been
Who
alive.
sent me this electric universe
And
thing?
is there a difference between fucking and making love, Andreas? And I hope the answer to that question is yes. But
I think one was a crime for unlawful carnal knowledge. I don't know if that's true, but they used to put you in shackles, and that's what they told me as a kid. It's probably not true.
I like to do
That
both
turns
at the
people
same
on,
time. I like
That's
to
okay.
fucking make love. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I like.
You like so you're saying you like to not emphasize the verb and you like to de-stress the verb of actually making love by adding some sort of a emphasis on the bridge to the actual
well, you
action.
can make sweet love. You can make passionate love.
So I'm saying, so I'm saying that I like to fucking love it.
It's like all five.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better to like focus on wouldn't it be better to like not wouldn't it be better to not convolute the sentence? to emphasize the point?
Why-
Well, I mean,
why would I- Why would I want to make love if I'm not fucking?
Because the act
know
of sex, if you look at it in mystical terms, apparently it's a transfer of energy, and like you could accumulate or deplete your karma in a sexual act with another human being.
The shamanic tradition, like Alex Gray style, is that you don't have sex with someone unless you would be willing to be that person. You don't share that intimate type of intercourse unless you're the type of person that you wouldn't mind being. It's a really interesting way to try to understand the type.
I'm trying to make a more general point that whenever you use cursing as a de-stressor of the emphatic verb, then you're reducing your emphasis of the verb. So it could be like, I'm going to go training. And you're like, you know what I got to do? I got to effing train. Well, you're no longer putting emphasis on training. You're putting on effing.
Andres, I gotta tell you, man. Like, since talking to you more, you've literally made me swear less. Like, I would just be about to say something like, "I'm gonna," and then I would see your face in my head. Like, Andres, like, he wouldn't like that. You know, like, it's
I remember when Luke was on your show, I like messaged him like, "Ooh, Andreas doesn't like that," like because he was cussing a lot. I was like, "Yeah, no, you don't want to do that."
The guy who did the wrestling
Etymology. It's
I don't mean to
cursing.
be
When
like
you
disliking
use
anything.
cursed words, you're putting curses of negative energy and negative intent out there.
But during sex, why do you want to yell that out or yell out like, "Oh God"?
I don't. You know what I want to do? I just want to.
Isn't that better? I feel like that's better.
No. I want to whisper encouraging words like "good job" or "way to go." You're doing great.
You're doing great.
Keep it up, champ.
Oh my God.
Are you gonna boop her nose? Like,
Inflated doll or
A for
Nobody
effort.
should take sex advice from this podcast ever. Period.
So
I love
it
what a
was
shit
adorable.
show it was tonight. I had to use that
Hell
cuss
yeah.
word. Loved it.
That's fair.
It was
That's fair.
adorable. I was
accurate.
just talking to Andreas. Like he just texted me the other day, and he said shit, but he censored it, and it's a private conversation between two people. But he asterisks out this shit, and I just like I kind of like I was like, that's adorable. Like I almost teared up because it was so cute. Just had to say that. I didn't
Cuss
really
less.
I had emotions.
like
I had
to
emotions.
I like the way South Park made me feel when they beeped. There was like a feeling I got as a kid when I watched South Park young, and it would beep, and it's not the same when they curse. It's actually more. There's something about the beep is like, it's a whistle. It's a dog whistle. You're right. It's totally trained me to be like, that's cool. It feels like you're overexerting your bound or something like that. I like that feeling.
I haven't learned a thing about cursing. Sorry. Maybe I'll try. Maybe.
You're from New York. In unrelated news, 3 people who cursed were injured and struck with lightning.
So YouTube
by the
doesn't
White
get
House.
us-
Kills
So YouTube doesn't get us for presenting old news as
next
new
to
news.
the
This
White
is
House?
2022.
It does seem kind of weird, doesn't it? Right?
Is that just the excuse of why there's 3 dead bodies at the White House these days? Did anyone see the lightning strike?
I mean, 3 people: 76-year-old James Mueller, 75-year-old Donna Mueller, and 29-year-old
I have to
without
point
a
out,
name.
This is from August of
the
2020.
9/11
Yep,
and
and
no
this is
footage
my
of
story.
planes
So at some
hitting
point,
the
it'd be great to comment
Pentagon.
on it, but go ahead.
This is 2025 now. If there is no footage of lightning strike next to the White House hitting 3 people, there's exponentially more cameras now.
Dude,
That's
dude,
the most.
but
secure-
Yeah, they had Luigi. They had Luigi on
What are
camera.
we even
Okay,
talking about?
But
your
On
immediate
New Year's
reaction
Day,
to seeing
on New
information
Year's
is
Day, light struck the
disbelief. I
Capitol,
understand that.
Empire State Building, and I think the Statue of Liberty, was it?
I think it's
just
fair to
remember
have
when it
rounds all
happened.
before. Yeah,
And-
Stefan.
and-
This was Stefan's story. To be fair, so what's your hot take? Let's do it.
It's not even hot again. So I was pointing
Hot
out.
take is if there's 3
Okay,
bodies
Bernie,
right next
hold
to
on,
the
okay,
White
let
House.
him-
All right, Bernie.
Don't. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No wait.
The
Stefan, you
audience
got
isn't
this.
allowed to hear a narrative or see a reaction to anything.
This dude's dressed as a
Remember, we're doing
bird.
this
Explain
chaos.
to me
No,
what's
it's not
happening.
allowed.
My brain works usually, so I'm totally
It's not allowed.
comfortable with this format. Actually, I like it. That's but
But
I don't know
explain
that
to me.
it's very listenable.
You're trying to.
when we do it.
I mean, yeah, I feel like psychologists want to hear it out, but
And
try
again,
to
unless we're
explain, Stefan.
sabotaging Andreas' stream on purpose, one at a time. Again, Bernie, would you like to go now?
what?
Yes, I would just like to say if
That's what it's like for me.
dead people
That's what it's like
next
for me.
to the White
Will it
House,
be my
and there
turn
is
next,
not
or-
footage of the lightning strike hitting it, because like how many cameras are there literally monitoring the White House and the surrounding community 24/7?
So if your question is there footage of these three
No,
people getting
they're-
fucking roasted by a lightning bolt outside the White House, the answer is
Yeah.
yes.
There has to be.
there has to be,
Again, this happened a little
or
while-
question
would
why
tells
there's
me.
three
strange
dead
thing is, as an
bodies.
architect, again, when lightning strikes near a building, it's supposed to like hit the thing at the tippy
But
top.
this
You know,
is the
there's like
White
a
House
dome on the
that
White
has
House.
camera
There's like a, or
angles
like even a
covering
ceiling and a
everything,
roof with
recording
like
24/7.
Don't they have like 50 live feeds of recording of like
then
the
let's
entire
look at
White House
one other
from every
story.
angle?
We're gonna
That's
try
what
to
I'm
connect
saying.
Point A
That's what I'm saying.
to point B. So is it like my turn for again? Like 18 seconds is all I need, but like you're welcome to interrupt again.
One,
No, you got it.
two.
Let's give him a shot.
I'm just
Give him a
joking.
shot. Give him a shot.
Well, so now
Squid
the
Games.
other, so as an architect, I was looking at old pictures of the Washington Monument, and there's a palisade of columns around it that was never got built because the Washington Monument got halfway in it. And so there's no lightning protection on the Washington Monument either, and 2 guards got roasted there the other year, and it's still unsafe to patrol the area on foot when the electromagnetic
Roasted?
conditions are wrong because in Washington, D.C., again, the head of the snake has been cut off, and they're lucky the plumbing works. Let's put it that way. When there's a lightning bolt that strikes right next to your building, it just
Yeah, it's
signs
crazy.
something's off with your architecture.
So they say lightning never strikes the same place twice, but we know that's
That's a lie, though.
Look at how many
If you look-
days
you look
in a row
middle,
of
it's supposed to-
lightning striking the monument.
Well,
That
if
is
you
lightning rod.
if you zoom in on the particles in the entangled quantum entanglement of it doesn't strike the exact same atom that it did before.
My point is
Whoa.
that is the
The
lightning,
lightning
rod
bolt
of
is
fury.
like 20 pulses, so it always strikes the same spot like at least 20 times.
Especially at the highest point, right?
But what did you
Easy
notice
ground.
about that
Exactly.
picture?
Plasma
the
channel
highest
opens and it's conductive,
Well-
and then it pulses a bunch of times until the charge runs out.
All right, what was your question,
That's
Stefan?
really fast.
So you just pulled up a picture of the Washington Monument being struck by lightning. Okay, class. So what do you see there that's not quite what you should be expecting? I don't know if you want to pull it back.
It's not hitting
No, it
the
was, one,
top.
it was the other one.
The one that was not the top, right? It was like a side picture.
Right, and because it's
That means
made
the,
of a
the
crystalline
wire-
granite. Okay, no, okay, who's okay.
Crystalline granite. I'm following.
Yes,
Here-
and
here
so
it is.
it's hitting the
What
middle
happened?
instead of the because it's capped with aluminum. If you read the book, not by Angels and Demons or Da Vinci Code, it was
Da
the
Vinci
last
Code.
one, the lost symbol.
Dan Brown
the-
wrote
Talk
it.
about
sign,
the aluminum
lost
cap
symbol.
on the tip of that.
I can comment on this from a physics perspective, though. Like, if the plasma channel opened and then there was immediately a downdraft, that could move the conductive air downward to where it would then go through there instead of to the very top.
So the architect of the White House and of the Capitol grounds used to be like a train conductor, and they had keys to everything, and they knew of all the rooms that weren't really supposed to exist. And they were like, and that was the architect wasn't some guy who like drew it and like instructed people to build it one time. And so the Capitol is lacking of architects. Let's put it that way.
Well, there's also, like, I think there's a ban on tall buildings so they don't obscure the view, right?
Yeah, so that's literally the tallest thing, and the lightning keeps hitting it. So what are all these claims of lightning killing a bunch of people around there when literally we just see it striking the monolith? Where's the videos of the 3 people that just got killed by this lightning strike?
Well,
I
the
know
White
this
House.
thing
There
got
was
arrested,
two
though.
National
Washington Monument
Guardsmen
kind of
that
far
got
apart.
injured. There was 2 people guarding the monument, and then there was 3 people at the White House. And these are 2 separate places, Bernie. I know it's a difficult concept to tease them
I
apart
just want
in
to
space
see the
and time.
videos of it. I'm
We're
just
just
asking
a
for the
little
video.
bit of concentration and
Wait.
focus.
Wait, so are there videos of people getting struck by lightning or not?
Yeah, that's
There's
what
thousands
I'm
of
asking, 'cause
videos.
If not,
No, my
that's
old
very
boss, Martha
suspicious
Stewart,
that there's
got hit
dead
by lightning
people
2
and
separate
people
times.
just stirred it up around the White House.
There's a
no
picture
video
of the
of it.
charred ground around it because it hit a tree and people were sheltering under the tree.
So no?
Walk through the old cemetery.
I don't believe anything I read in the news either, bro.
Get struck, bitches. You're gonna get struck, mother. Not gonna swear, cause swearing's bad.
Sometimes Zeus is like, nah.
Tickety Stevenson is chilling up in here. Yeah.
To our mud flats, you'll find
Like,
Did you just type in 80s music to get that?
Atlantis.
You know, you just gotta like ride a couple trams, get the names of a couple places.
This kind of music can 10x your crop yield. If you blast it on your farmland, you'll gain a lot more plants.
Bernie, were you an only child? I don't mean that as an insult.
maybe.
What?
I don't mean that as an insult.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm a middle child with middle child syndrome and a redheaded stepchild. So I mean,
I'm the
we all
oldest
have
in
our
my
flaws.
family. You guys
So
tell?
you have no soul.
I'm a middle child with only child syndrome. I'm unique.
I have so many sisters. I can't even count them all.
Damn, I feel
Is
like I
any-
missed all the educational bits.
And some
Is
people
any of
grew up
one of
not
you
knowing
the
what a mom and
oldest?
dad was, you know?
Which
Yeah,
one
I'm the
are any
oldest.
of you the old? You're the oldest. Yeah, and what's that like being the oldest for you?
You have to take care of everybody and look after them all, and not because
Are
anybody
you
tells
the oldest, Sean? Are you the
Yes, I
oldest?
am.
Yeah.
Oh.
buddy.
You just get this weird
I was gonna
instinct
try to
to feel
call
like
you
a
that.
mother hen, even though you're a guy. It's like you have to take care of all the little ones.
Yeah.
So I had a quick story about an anti-drug type thing. We still got 10 minutes left. We're actually live still, Andres.
You had an
haven't cut it.
anti-drug story. That's right. No, you're good. You had an anti. You were
I was
at the
saying, so,
beginning of
some
this.
people say I grew
you
up
told me
without a
this, like-
mom or without a dad or without parents
Drugs
even.
bad,
Some
okay.
people grew up without a concept of what a mother and father were because of how
Right. I had a Teddy
Added their-
Ruxpin.
Mm.
my anti-drug. So I have had the option in the past, only as an adult, to have like a PRN prescription for ADD meds or like 6 months off of that clean. So pat on my back. And what I've found is that if I drink a third of a glass of yerba mate, the idea of even taking amphetamines, I'm like, bleh. Whereas if I'm not on caffeine doesn't really work for me, but whatever is in, they say it's just caffeine on the
Yerba
bottle. but
mate.
it's
Mate
the thing
fiend.
that was grown in
Mate
Argentina.
fiend. Yeah, it's its own thing. Yeah, for sure.
And then my
All
other
that shit that's like yerba mate. Isn't that shit that's called like yerba mate? Is it mate?
That's yerba mate.
Like
Yerba mate.
HIERBA.
I like that though.
Like
Yerba
grass.
mate. It's my yerba mate.
Yerba.
You have yerba mate.
It's yerba mate.
And so then my other anti-drug is I finally figured out how
Get
to
some
get
yerba mate.
decarboxylated, or you could call it bioavailable, or you could call it cured, or you could call it activated THC cartridges. And so now only 2 or 3 glasses of alcohol. Again, if you're consuming real cannabis, there's certain medicine you can take where if you're trying to quit drinking, you can take a pill, and if you drink, it will make you violently ill and sick. And that's one way to stop yourself from doing it cold turkey. But for me, I found like having real cannabis means that
Yeah, they have the same
there's
thing
no
for
way I'm
opiates.
finishing a whole
I
bottle.
think
of
it's called like
whiskey or but like without
Nexalone or something.
cannabis, you like barely get drunk or something. But
It's a vaccine for addictive drugs. Yeah, they have that.
so it's like harm reduction. It's a harm reduction tool, and it's not great as a permanent
You have to
solution.
either
Medication
want to
over
administer that
medication.
drug to yourself or have it forcefully administered, though. That's the thing.
What'd you call me? It's just something I say intermittently. You know, it's usually meant to be out
Yo,
of
can
context. Instead of saying your mom or something, because that usually doesn't go over well.
Yeah, I've been thinking about.
Can I tell you
quitting drinking,
guys
too.
my anti-drug?
What is that?
Well, my anti-drug is morphine because it is a demon.
Opiates
And
are evil, yes.
in of
Yeah.
itself, I don't know if anybody out there has ever been addicted to opiates, but it's not cool. And it sucks.
Yeah, a lot of people have been addicted to
I'm
opiates.
actually
I've
counting
been
that.
physically
One
dependent
point,
on
a
opiates.
Not the
but I don't
doctor
think I was
prescribing me 18 80-milligram pills a day, and I was taking them. It like
So you're my opiate brother? We're opiate bros?
recovered.
I
Yeah,
took opiates.
absolutely.
I'm
I
addicted
had,
to air and water
I
and
crushed
food.
bones.
So I'm currently
Oh,
on the
horrible,
last part of my
So-
recovery. Of I am down to a 1/8 of the.
Are you on
smallest
Suboxone?
Suboxone, yeah. So I'm on a
Fuck yeah!
0.2 of a milligram a day. So it's like I take the
What?
smallest.
You're not even on 1 milligram?
No.
Wait,
I'm
okay,
like
so-
a fraction of a fraction of
Okay, dude. So
I'm like
for a little
weeks away
bit,
from actually getting off of
for a
it.
little bit of context,
I'd
like
like to talk
him
about
saying,
drug withdrawals here for a second.
Yo.
No, seriously.
hold,
Seriously.
yo. So
First of all,
I need to
first
say
of all,
this that
opioid
he's
let him
on
just finish the point. Let him finish
0.2
the point.
percent.
Let him
That's
finish the point, bro,
fucking
and
walk
then
in the
hop in,
park
Sean.
compared to benzos. First of all. Second of all,
We'll
amphetamine
we'll
withdrawals.
make sure you get to finish your point. Yeah. Go ahead. Or I mean, I don't know.
I'm saying 0.2% of, or I mean 0.2 of milligram of Suboxone. Like he's doing amazing. You have no idea. Like because they start you
All
on
you
8
have to do is
milligrams.
be sick for 2 weeks and it goes away.
No,
That's it.
it's not
It's
that
literally
easy.
no
I'm
reason
not
to go
going
back
through.
to it.
But no, it's
Like,
You know how
nothing
long-
wrong with
lot
having a
longer
warm
than
body.
Yo, that's
Yeah,
not cool to
seriously, dude.
say.
Again, he's trying to get you to
Bullshit.
recognize someone because I don't have a frame of
Opiates
context
can't
for
kill you.
understanding that.
What
The
benzo withdrawals
dosage
can.
amounts or anything, and I appreciate you enlightening. the
Okay,
audience.
like one of them is worse than the other. I've
We're
been
not-
addicted to
we're not-
benzos too.
was
Yeah.
It's not
prescribed
the
to me
withdrawals
Yeah.
that
by
put you
my
back on the
doctor.
drugs.
Sean's
Let's
the kind of
talk
guy
about who
takes
had the
listens to
hardest
bacon,
time.
bacon fat, you know, he's vain and he likes to.
I
you
was
know,
physically
these are
addicted.
not
you have to be
places
perfect.
I want to
and
go.
that's
Because I
fine.
wasn't
I
addicted
really,
to it.
I don't really
get-
want to
good
go that
job,
direction
Brady.
with the
Good.
show
People love
anyway,
this.
because
Good job,
like
Brady.
I don't want us giving like medical advice about what
Yeah,
they
right.
should do to
Good
try to
point.
get clean. Like just try to get
And
clean
Brady, you
however
seem
you can.
cogent
If
and
you're
happy
having
and
problems.
present, and that's what matters, right? You know,
Yeah,
and
it's
you
cool
seem
that
healthy.
you're
You don't
doing
have
that,
bags
Brady.
under your eyes.
Yeah,
It's just not
It-
cool when somebody's getting off of drugs to try and tell them like that they're doing it wrong when they're
Right.
doing
Right,
a great
yeah.
job. Like
Literally,
that's
Yeah,
really
exactly.
not cool.
program
I
I've
agreed
been
with
going
that.
through with the addiction doctor that I was put to after my initial
Exactly.
doctor put me on the original OxyContin prescription and kept increasing it and giving me more and getting me into the whole
That's wrong.
situation.
That doctor is
It's been a
literally cruel.
15-year process, and yeah, I'm in the very last stage of fully getting clean, and that it's just that like I
awesome.
was planning to get quit before Christmas, before the end of the year, but then I've had to work a few days on and off doing snow removal, so it's like I'd get called into work. So I've just been
Bro,
putting, so at any
Yeah,
point,
I think you said there was a
if you
physical.
ever,
it's like burning.
I gotta say, if you ever get off of Suboxone because you're on such a like
Not if,
minuscule
it's
dose
when,
now,
yeah, no,
like no, like what I'm trying to say is, of course you're going to. What I'm saying is like, please, for the love of God, if you're like, you know, it's too much or whatever, because it might be like just go back to it. There's no shame in that. Some people actually will stay on Suboxone for their entire lives, so it's like it's best
Yeah,
to get off of it for sure.
I'm determined
but
to get off of
Bernie's
it.
For the love of God.
Don't give
Yeah.
medical
He'll
advice,
do
bro.
ceremonies with other
No,
things,
it's
and
not
if he-
over.
I don't think he's
Go
gonna
to a
do
doctor and
himself.
get
Let's
prescribed.
talk about
Yeah.
other
I don't want to
things.
give up on.
That's a prescription. That's a prescription thing. You go to a doctor for, and he would speak to a doctor about it. He's completely right. That's not like
Yeah.
going to somebody on the street and getting something. If he wants to stay clean, then that's staying
I'm
clean.
not giving
Yeah, stick with
any
your doctor.
advice. I'm
Sober
just
again, that
stating
sounds
I'm
so
in the
boring.
last
Yeah.
stage
Uh,
of the prescribed treatment of getting off of what
It
was
sounds so
That's good.
icky. Again, it's like to who?
Yeah, bro, you're almost there.
Yeah, I'm
And
in
you
the
call it
process of
food and
doing
you
it.
eat it, you know?
You can
Yeah.
stop
Intoxicated
anytime,
on
but
what?
you can do it. It's not impossible. That's what
Yeah,
I was trying to say.
For sure.
before. I didn't mean to be
Put the
overly-
crack pipe down, boy. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
totally possible to stop doing.
No,
it.
yeah, I mean he's so close to the finish line that you just kind of like
Yeah.
want it to be like over for him. I get you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not over. It's going to be like 6 months to a year of my body healing and going through it because I've literally been prescribed and on these opiates for 15 years. And at one
That's an
point,
insane amount.
my body being addicted to me being prescribed and taking from the doctor and the doctor's random recommendation of 80 milligram pills a day. Like that's shit. That kills a horse.
18?
Like, insane. 80 milligram pills a day. My doctor
Jesus
was
Christ, dude.
yeah, like
I'd like to say thank you at least not for
Crazy.
selling them and getting other people
But-
hooked. You know,
Yeah, no,
That's good,
never.
yeah.
I don't wish opiate.
So-
that
addictions
does some other
to
people
my
that were in your
I-
position
literally the worst.
watched a bunch of their
I
friends
took-
die because they got them
I took
hooked on
80
these
milligrams a day, dude. You took 80 milligrams a day. That's insane, bro. Like that blows my mind. Right?
You know what
Like,
I think about these medicines too, because you know there
not
are
medicine, drugs.
traditional
It's
Chinese
drug.
medicine
It's-
doctors.
It is
who have
100 to
Well, we're
1,000
both gonna talk,
times
okay?
X stronger than heroin, and you're not cooking it up. Injecting it in
My
a needle.
house on sinking sand, thought I could hold the ocean's
Devil
hand.
Kittle.
But every wave pulls me astray, I always seem to lose my way.
I'm in the process.
I keep making the wrong choices, chasing all the loudest voices. They promise gold but leave me gray. Another price I'll have to pay. And I'm always walking through the fire,
say hi?
always climbing higher,
That's
just
insane.
to fall. Terrible decisions keep me breaking. It's the shadow of my own making after all. The silver moon, she calls me out to wander paths of fear and doubt.
And the idea is our organs are
I
only
try
meant
to
to take so
turn,
much
I try to
processing
stay,
of this
but
intense
my
technology that we
heart
preserve
goes
through plant
the other
medicine
way.
and through life.
I
What?
keep making the
And so, like,
wrong
I may need
choices,
to use opiates in the future if I have chronic pain. Thankfully, right now, that is not something I experience. But I want to save organs for when I'm like 90 to 95. And at that point, my doctor, instead of all of this acting, is worried about damaging my nerves. And I have chronic pain, God
through the
forbid.
fire,
That's an
always
important
climbing
use. The goal is to save your
higher,
organs
just to
when you really
fall.
need that medicine.
Terrible
God forbid, ever need that
decisions keep me breaking.
Stop your drugs
It's the
unless you're
shadow
really
of my
old.
own
It's
making
better
after
for you
all.
because you're dying.
There's a lesson in the wind. It howls, but I won't let it in. Every
really like those sweet
road
greens.
I take bends wrong. Another verse for my broken song. And I'm always walking through the fire, always climbing higher, just to fall. Terrible decisions keep me breaking. It's the shadow of my own making after all. So
I'm just saying, yeah, it's crazy. That I can do that. All right, it's 2 hours deep. I kind of want to like cut it because, like, I don't know, that got a little heavy for me right there. I'll be honest, but I like that you guys are
There's a
trying
lot
to
of
get
personal
healthy.
stairs there. I think we
Getting
we did a
healthy is
good job
important.
making
I love you,
purpose.
Bernie. And yeah,
Like,
like nobody's
I've
giving
seen a
medical
lot of
advice. Hopefully, I don't get cut for
Yeah,
that.
zero medical
But, like,
advice. Don't do
I
drugs,
don't know.
kids. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, seriously,
I
don't
want
try
to
drugs.
also like promote like people check out Julia's page because Julia is doing an event pretty soon in Sedona that's kind of cool. And also Mount, what was it? Here's it up here, right? There's a thing you were doing. I just saw it a second ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in March. And
Yeah.
then if you want a hypnosis session with me, you could do a hypnosis session. You could do it in person or online, and you could book one through my website. And also, if you want an astrology chart done, hit me up.
Julia, it's pretty basic. You came to hang out with us on this crazy Monday. You know,
And remember,
just-
kids, the war on drugs
Only
is actually
one
a
day.
war on humanity, and don't sell out your own species.
Well, yeah, that should be
Yeah,
taken
don't
for
do that.
granted, but I agree. I guess you have to tell people that nowadays. Let's see, Chris,
Yo,
you got some. You want to say something?
yes,
I know
of
you're
course.
always positive.
I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for letting me come on the show and like bullshitting with me. That was really cool and really fun. And thank you to everyone watching. Seriously, it's cool. I think it's cool that you guys tune in to listen to this intuitive nonsense. It's fun. Thank you.
What,
Right?
Drink your
Chris?
beer. There are sober kids in Africa.
Best. All right. Yeah. No. And like,
Namaste.
I love you all.
This must be